Yun Chuzhou continued to poke with a smile. If we can't get out, then we can't get out. There's no danger in here, and we can poke you to play with it. So, we plan to stay here for a long time. Moreover, we plan to renovate this place and write more slogans. For example, the Divine Devil Hall is a bunch of turtle bastards. For example, that dog shit owner is an idiot. You shut up. You deserve to die. I shut up. If you want me to shut up, then I'll shut up. I said, that shit lord of yours is a coward. Otherwise, why wouldn't he dare to come out? Why did he only let his underlings come out to fight? He even put on a mask for a broken statue. Obviously, he's too ashamed to face anyone. You're talking nonsense. You deserve to die. I'm talking nonsense. Let's not talk about anything else. Let's talk about the bones of the sea beasts here. How did these sea beasts die? It must be related to that fucking god, right? What did they do wrong? What right do they have to deprive them of their right to live? They are also creatures born and bred. What right does he have to decide their life and death? You, the jellyfish artifact spirit, Qi Ling, did not know how to refute Yun Chuzhou even after a long time. Yun Chuzhou sneered, what else do you have to say? That shit master has been planning for tens of thousands of years. Perhaps his spiritual power is really terrifying, but those who have achieved the Tao will have more help, while those who have lost the Tao will have less help. In the end, he will still fail. The color of Qi Ling's body had turned from red to black. It said fiercely, no matter what you say, you will never get out. You will be trapped here for the rest of your life. When Yun Chuzhou was about to take care of the jellyfish artifact spirit, countless remnant souls of sea beasts floated on the dry bones on the ground. The jellyfish artifact spirit screamed in fear, no, it's impossible. The remnant souls of these sea beasts have been refined by me, why do they still exist? Yun Chuzhou narrowed her eyes and looked at the remnant souls of the sea beasts. These were real remnant souls. They were so weak that they would dissipate even with a breath. The remnant souls of the sea beasts continued to rush towards the jellyfish artifact spirit. Yun Chuzhou subconsciously moved aside. Qi Ling had a feeling that the remnant souls of the sea beasts were helping her. She had a hunch that the remnant souls of the sea beasts were helping her. Perhaps it was the words she had said earlier that had awakened them. Or perhaps they had been unwilling to give up and had been waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. The remnant souls of the sea beasts pounced on the body of the jellyfish artifact spirit and began to bite it. According to common sense, the artifact spirit of the mystical realm would not be killed easily. However, the number of remnant souls of the sea beasts was very large. Moreover, they were filled with resentment and hostility. Qi Ling's eyes were filled with hatred and hostility. The jellyfish artifact spirit kept screaming, and its body became smaller and smaller until it disappeared. And Lin Chuan, who was watching from the side, was dumbfounded. Damn, such a situation was so rare that he had never dreamed of it before. Yun Chuzhou, who was watching from the side, looked at the scene in front of her thoughtfully. It seemed that she was most likely right about what she said earlier. The death of the sea beasts was directly or indirectly related to the master. While Yun Chuzhou was pondering, the ground began to shake violently. This guy thought that it might not be good, and the place would probably collapse. This guy was not willing to give up his life and money. At this time, he did not forget to put the sticky silk net and the 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain into his storage ring. Then, he shouted at the remnant souls of the sea beasts, little babies, quickly tell me, where should I run to? As soon as Yun Chuzhou said that, her and Lin Chuan's bodies were pushed into the sky by a huge force. Yun Chuzhou looked down and saw countless remnant souls of the sea beasts holding them up, one layer after another. Yun Chuzhou's heart was filled with sorrow. With so many sea beasts dying at the same time, one could imagine what kind of tragic situation it was at that time. I, Yun Chujiu, have received your grace. Don't worry, I will definitely destroy the god and demon temple and kill that bullshit supremacy to avenge you. The remnant souls of the sea beasts let out a wave of sorrowful cries. Even Lin Chuan, who had a rough outline, could feel the sorrowful feeling. His eyes could not help but turn red. At this moment, the ground below had already begun to collapse. Loud booms kept coming from the ground. If Yun Chujiu and Lin Chuan had not been lifted up by the remnant souls of the sea beasts in the air, they would have been buried alive. The remnant souls of the sea beasts suddenly exerted force. Yun Chujiu and Lin Chuan felt their bodies being thrown high into the air, followed by a dazzling white light. When the two of them regained their sight, they found that they were at the top of a mountain. Lin Chuan looked around and found a hole in front of them. He ran over and lay down to take a look. He shouted in surprise, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, come and take a look. This is the cave from before. We're out. We should be in the sect now." Yun Chujiu was obviously not as stupid as Lin Chuan. She stood up and looked into the distance. The other 6 mountains and the mountain peak below them formed the Big Dipper. Wasn't that the Hunyuan sect? Lin Chuan was dancing with joy. Junior sister Xiaojiu, there will definitely be good fortune after surviving this disaster. We have escaped death. Yun Chujiu nodded. Let's not talk about the lightning strike. Let's jump to the oath and the remnant soul of the sea beast. Do you understand? Junior sister Xiaojiu, don't worry. Although I'm careless, I understand what I should say and what I shouldn't say. Let's go. Let's ride the sword down. Lin Chuan said as he summoned his sword and was about to ride it away when Yun Chujiu suddenly had a flash of inspiration in her mind. The Big Dipper. The 7 peaks of the Chaos Origin sect formed the Big Dipper. Could it be a kind of formation and its purpose was to suppress the mystic realm they had encountered before? Or was there something else buried under the Chaos Origin sect? Another example was the Murder Origin sect. The 5 peaks of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth contained the 5 elements. Could it be that they were also suppressing something? Yun Chujiu thought about it carefully. It seemed that every time they encountered something from the devil or the divine devil hall, there was something suppressing it. It was either a divine weapon, a formation, or a natural barrier. Perhaps they had a great battle with the divine devil hall back then. And then they suppressed the remaining survivors. And now, the survivors that had been suppressed all over ran out one after another. The divine devil hall would definitely make a comeback. Divine Devil Hall, Divine Devil. Yun Chujiu didn't think about this name too much in the past. Now that she thought about it, this name was extremely strange. It was either a god or a devil. How could gods and devils collude with each other? Why would they come up with such a contradictory name? Lin Chuan saw that Yun Chujiu seemed to be deep in thought. He gently tugged at her. Junior sister Xiaojiu, what are you thinking about? Let's hurry down. I think both the sect leader and my father are worried sick. Yun Chujiu heard Lin Chuan's words and shook her head. She couldn't rush things in the Divine Devil Hall. She would definitely be able to find the truth if she took her time. She couldn't rush it. Thus, Lin Chuan rode his sword while a certain Jiu rode her chopping board and flew down the mountain. Soon, someone saw the two of them. Look. Aren't those the eloping Yun Chujiu and Lin Chuan? They are back. Yes, those two have gone somewhere to have fun. They have tormented us so much that we almost turned the back of Yaoguang Peak upside down. After making such a ruckus, I reckon that Mountain Mastering can only agree to their matter. A certain figure in the dark narrowed his eyes, and the cold air on his body leaked out. The few trees beside him instantly turned into dust. Elope. Very good, very good. He Xinjiu did not know that a certain someone was jealous. This guy and Lin Chuan went to Master Bailey's place to explain the matter before humming a tune and returning to the dormitory. The moment this guy pushed open the courtyard door, he was almost turned into an ice sculpture. He saw a certain someone sitting there with a cold face. The disaster-prone tree in the courtyard had been completely destroyed, only a tree stump was left there pitifully. "Prince Charming, you're here. Let me tell you, a few days ago, a certain Zhou's words came out of nowhere. Because the green stone slab started to crack with a certain Zhou at the center, and the house behind her started to shake, this guy finally realized that something was wrong. That Prince Charming, calm down. Calm down. Impulsiveness is the devil, impulsiveness is the devil. What's wrong with you?" Di Baiming's eyes were fixed on Yun Chujiu. His body was slightly trembling as he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. "You eloped with him?" A certain Zhou was dumbfounded. "Eloped? She eloped with someone? What a joke. Prince Charming, are you sure you're talking about me? I eloped with someone. If I eloped, I would be eloping with you too." A certain Zhou had an innocent look on her face. "Humph. Tell me, what's going on? Who's that monkey-faced man?" Although a certain Zhou still trusted Yun Chujiu in his heart, he couldn't control the jealousy in his heart when he heard the discussions of those people. Especially when his little wife was getting more and more beautiful. He saw that all men were love rivals. The corner of Yun Chujiu's eyes twitched. Monkey-faced man. Although senior brother and was not as good-looking as you, he was also a good-looking person, okay? However, this guy knew that he was on the verge of exploding, so he could only stroke his hair. With a look of disgust, he said, Prince Charming, you said senior brother and he is an idiot. He is even more stupid than a black chicken. The thing is, a few days ago, Yun Chujiu told him everything. In order to increase the credibility of the story, this guy even told her about Lin Chuan saying that only the blind would marry her. So, a certain Zhou successfully transferred the anger of a certain god to a certain unlucky guy. A certain Zhou narrowed her eyes. Did he not have eyes? Very good. A certain Zhou stole a glance and saw that the cold air on a certain god's body had dissipated a lot. Then, she said eagerly, "Prince Charming, have you eaten lunch? Come, let's not be angry with that pointy-mouthed monkey-faced idiot. Let's eat." Di Baiming snorted coldly and did not say anything, but he did not reject her either. A certain Zhou secretly heaved a sigh of relief. This article was finally over for the time being. This fellow was ruthless in his heart. Fuck, when she was free, he would definitely beat up those scums who were spreading rumors. This fellow diligently placed the dishes that Di Baiming liked to eat. Then, he eagerly helped to pick up the dishes and serve the rice. He was just short of feeding them with a spoon. After a meal, a certain Zhou's expression finally returned to normal. A certain Zhou tried to find something to say. "Male god, the jade token you gave me last time really helped me a lot. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know what to do. Male god, you're really amazing. A wisp of your divine sense actually crushed those dregs to death. My admiration for you is like a torrential river." The corners of a certain venerated's mouth curled up imperceptibly. "A few days ago, I found another jade token of the same material. You can keep it." Yun Chujiu received the jade token from Di Baiming and the smile on her face became even brighter. "Prince Charming, you are really too good. Come, give me a kiss." A certain Zhou naturally wouldn't reject this gift that was delivered to her door. She hugged a certain Zhou and made out with her. After a period of intimacy, a certain Zhou had long forgotten about the matter of eloping. Her eyes were filled with deep affection and doting. A certain Zhou saw that the rain had passed and the sky was clear. She immediately began to show off. This bastard brought out the little bastard. "Prince Charming, look. This is the little bastard that I obtained in the sea of the ends of the earth. I said that I didn't want it, but that big bastard insisted on giving it to me as a spirit pet. Although the little bastard was still young, spirit beasts had a keen instinct for danger. When they felt the pressure and cold air from debeaming, they were so scared that their heads and tails even shrank into their shells. Debeaming only glanced at it and snorted coldly. What's the point of keeping such useless things? Just find a puddle and throw it away. When the little bastard heard debeaming's words, he was so scared that his turtle shell trembled. Seeing this, Yun Chujio hurriedly said, "Little bastard, summon the turtle shell and let Prince Charming take a look." The little bastard trembled as he summoned the turtle shell and then hid his head and tail inside. When debeaming saw the turtle shell, he took a few more glances. This turtle shell is not bad. Although it has not been refined by a weaponsmith, its defense is not bad. Where did this turtle shell come from? The bastard said that this turtle shell belongs to the little bastard's mother. Is this turtle shell really not bad? Yun Chujio asked in surprise. To be able to make debeaming say that it was not bad, it should be really not bad. Debeaming nodded. The little bastard's mother should not be the dragon-head turtle of the wilderness. Instead, it looks like the dragon blood turtle of the wilderness that has the black tortoise bloodline. From the looks of it, this little bastard is not too useless. You can keep it for now. Hearing debeaming's words, Yun Chujio immediately danced with joy and said smugly, "I knew that my luck wouldn't be so bad. Prince Charming, let me tell you, I even got half a spiritual stone mine." Debeaming was stunned. Half a spiritual stone mine? What's going on? Don't mention it. I met a human-faced octopus in the sea of the world. After it self-detonated, I was rushed to the edge of the chessboard island. The old priest insisted that I was some heavenly lady, so I had no choice but to admit it. He even pretended that senior brother Shangwan and senior brother An were my husband. Boom. The stone table and stone bench were instantly turned into dust, and the green stone slabs on the ground were completely destroyed. Even the 3 houses behind them were instantly reduced to rubble. Fortunately, Yun Chujio had activated the isolation array. Otherwise, such a huge commotion would have attracted many people. Yun Chujio only realized later that she had said the wrong thing. Moreover, it was the kind of wrong words that could not be undone. She regretted it so much that her intestines were turning green. Why did her IQ drop when she was in front of the gigolo? Oh no. Oh no. The gigolo was definitely going to teach her a lesson. That Prince Charming, I just said it out of convenience at that time. It's a matter of urgency. Don't be rash, listen to me and they'll explain it to you properly. A certain Jiao was afraid that a certain Jiao would kill 2 unlucky people in a fit of anger. She hugged a certain Jiao's waist tightly and refused to let go. A certain Jiao's eyes were red with anger. Now, it was no longer a matter of being jealous. A certain Jiao was now like a big firecracker that could explode at any time. Good. Very good. Husband. Husband of both sizes. It seems that what you said wasn't for nothing. So that's what you were thinking in your heart. I came to see you day and night. First, you acted out an elopement act for me, and now you've brought me husbands of all ages. You black thing, you've really disappointed me. At the end of his speech, there was a slight tremble in his voice. It was unknown whether he was angry or sad. A certain Jiao was so anxious that her forehead was sweating. Prince Charming, it's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Calm down, you must calm down. Debeaming broke free from Yun Chujio's hand in an instant. He turned around and looked at Yun Chujio with red eyes. Black thing, whatever disaster you've caused, this venerable one can help you clean up the aftermath. However, you shouldn't create any drama about eloping with any husband or husband. I still have other matters to attend to. You should think about it yourself. After a certain Jiao finished speaking, she disappeared in a flash. A certain Jiao looked at the mess on the ground and then thought about the look in a certain Jiao's eyes when she left. She was anxious and aggrieved, and she was so angry that she was twitching. This gigolo is simply a big vinegar vat. He's simply unreasonable. This fellow thought about it. Now that Di Biming was in a rage, he probably wouldn't listen to anything she said. It was better to talk about it in a few days. A certain Jiao blinked her eyes and took out her identity jade token to send a message to the manager of the General Affairs Office, asking him to arrange for people to repair her house. After the manager of the General Affairs Office received Yun Chujia's message, he was afraid that this bad news would cause trouble at the General Affairs Office, so he quickly sent dozens of people over to help repair the house. Moreover, the materials they brought were all of the best quality. When the General Affairs Office workers who were repairing the house came over and saw the miserable state of Yun Chujia's courtyard, they immediately shrunk their necks. Oh my God, the house was not destroyed like this when the demon beasts rebelled last time. How did this ancestor do it? When they looked at Yun Chujia's gloomy face, they immediately became even more terrified. This ancestor even dared to beat up an inner sect disciple. It was better not to offend her, or else their lives would be in danger. Thus, during the repair process, these servants were afraid that Yun Chujio would not be satisfied, so they forcefully repaired a servant's courtyard to be better than an inner disciple's courtyard. Moreover, it was fixed before the sun set. It could be said that they created the fastest speed for the servants to repair the house. A certain Jiao sent a few voice transmission talismans to Di Biming at night, but Di Biming did not reply. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. He vented his anger on the disciple who spread the rumor that she had eloped with Lin Chuan. The next day, this guy brought a large kitchen knife to Yaoguang Peak. He found the disciples who spread the rumor, regardless of whether they were men or women, and gave them a good beating. Fuck, which eye of yours saw me eloping with senior brethren? Since your eyes are useless, do you want me to poke your eyes blind? You shameless bastard, are you slandering people with your long mouth? Do you want me to feed you some medicine to make you mute? What? You also heard it from others. Do you believe what others say? Since you don't use your brain, do you want me to help you cut off your head? All of a sudden, the people on Yaoguang Peak were screaming and lying on the ground. Most of them were female disciples. It was not that these people had not resisted, but after seeing Yun Chujio blow up a huge rock into powder, they immediately stopped. They were deeply aware of the fact that this fellow in front of them didn't care about the rules of the sect at all. If they provoked her, she would really dare to blow them up with talismans. And Lin Chuan, this fellow, had been locked up by Mountain Masterin. After hearing the news, he was afraid that Yun Chujio would cause a big trouble, so he didn't care whether he was locked up or not. He hurriedly rushed over. Junior sister Little Jiao, Junior sister Little Jiao, quickly stop. Yun Chujio looked at Lin Chuan, who had a pointy mouth and a monkey's cheeks. She was instantly furious. She said coldly, go to the side. I'll settle the score with you later. Lin Chuan shrunk his neck and obediently stood to the side. After a while, this fellow finally reacted. He didn't do anything wrong. Why did junior sister Jiao shout at him? Why did he feel guilty? He had really seen a ghost. The disciples on the ground originally thought that Lin Chuan's arrival would stop a certain Jiao's atrocity. They didn't expect Yun Chujio to stop her with a shout. Instantly, their hearts turned cold. Some of the disciples secretly sent a message to Mountain Masterin. Now, only Mountain Masterin could save them. After receiving the message, Mountain Masterin flew into a rage. He was already somewhat dissatisfied with Yun Chujio. He felt that ever since his son met Yun Chujio, he had never stopped, not to mention the scandal of eloping. Thus, Mountain Masterin arrived at the scene of the accident with a stern face. Seeing the disciples beaten black and blue on the ground, Mountain Master and became even angrier. Yun Chujio, what are you doing? Mountain Master and shouted sternly. Of course, he didn't really mean to ask what Yun Chujio was doing, but to ask her to stop and apologize. Unfortunately, a certain Jiao didn't care about this. She kicked the disciple who reported the news a few times and then said to Mountain Masterin, a few days ago, Senior Brother N and I went into danger for the sake of the safety of the Immortal Essence continent. Originally, we did not intend to ask for any praise, but we did not go so far as to slander us for eloping, did we? These people were the disciples of Alcade Peak, and most of them were inner sect disciples. They did not cultivate properly, and all they did was spread rumors and slander Senior Brother N and my reputation. Actually, my reputation was secondary. After all, I had always been thick-skinned. However, Senior Brother N was your son. They slandered Senior Brother N to slander you. As a junior, I really couldn't stand it, so I taught them a lesson. Of course, beating a dog depends on the owner. I'm not from Alcade Peak, so I beat them up on my own initiative. I was wrong. How about this, you can punish me however you want. Whether it's the cave of reflection or the cave of tranquility, I won't say anything. Yun Chujio's words rendered Mountain Master speechless. Although he was unwilling to admit it, Mountain Master was still somewhat dissatisfied with the previous rumors. However, as the Mountain Master, he couldn't punish these disciples to avoid suspicion. Today, Yun Chujio had dealt with these disciples. In fact, he did not care much about it. What he cared about was that Yun Chujio had challenged his authority as the Peak Master of Alcade Peak. What he cared about was that Yun Chujio had corrupted his son. Just as Mountain Master was hesitating on how to deal with Yun Chujio, and Lin Chuan pleaded on the side, Father, junior sister Xiao Jiao is also fighting for me. If you want to punish me, then punish me. And Lin Chuan's words were like adding oil to a fire, and Mountain Master An's expression became even uglier. Yun Chujio, as a part-time disciple, you beat up a disciple of my Alcade Peak. I will suggest to Master Bailey that you go to the far west to fight against the nightmare race. As soon as Mountain Master said this, and Lin Chuan's expression changed. Father, you can't do this. Those who go to the far west are all elders because their spiritual power is high enough. Junior sister Little Nine is only at the 6th level of the Ling Xian realm. If you let her go to the far west, then you are sending her to her death. Hearing Lin Chuan's words, Mountain Master became even angrier. He flung his sleeves and said, Don't talk anymore. You have wasted your cultivation these days. Why don't you hurry back to your courtyard? If you talk anymore, don't come out. Father, if you really want to send little 9th junior sister to the far west, then I'll go with you. Normally, if Mountain Master said this, Lin Chuan would not argue with him. However, today's matter involved his friend, so how could he be willing to retreat? When Mountain Master heard Lin Chuan say this, he became even more furious. Bastard! Are you planning to rebel? If you dare to leave the courtyard without permission, I'll break your legs. Lin Chuan's rebellious mentality, which had been suppressed for many years, finally exploded. If you're willing to hit me, then hit me. Ever since I was young, you've either hit me or scolded me. If you're lazy in your cultivation, you hit me. If your cultivation speed can't compare to others, you hit me. If your words contradict you, you hit me. If your actions don't suit your heart, you still hit me. Today, you might as well beat me to death so that I won't be an eyesore. Mountain Master never thought that Lin Chuan would actually talk back to him in public. He was so angry that he raised his hand and was about to beat him. Lin Chuan closed his eyes and was already mentally prepared to be beaten up. At this moment, a clear voice was heard, Mountain Master, if you slap me like this, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Mountain Master snorted coldly, Yun Chujio, shut up. What does it have to do with you that I'm disciplining my son? Mountain Masterin, you've misunderstood my words. You hit and scolded senior brother and for his own good. Besides, being filial and filial means being obedient to your parents. If senior brother and doesn't listen to you, he really deserves a beating, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Mountain Masterin was stunned. Although this Yun Chujio was not in tune, her words still made sense. Thus, he did not stop her from continuing. And Lin Chuan, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. Was junior sister Little Jio's brain damaged? Was she trying to trick him? What did he do to offend her? Mountain Master An's motive for wanting his son to become a dragon is naturally good. However, you cannot recklessly interfere with his choice under the pretext of being good for senior brethren. He is your son, but he is also a person. He is an independent individual. On what basis does he have to listen to your arrangements? It's right for parents to care for their children, and it's right for people to be filial. However, this isn't a reason for you to control senior brother An's life. Taking a step back, do you think you can control him for the rest of his life? Won't he have to make his own way in the future? Moreover, is what you think right? Of course, I'm an outsider. I'm just saying. If you're willing to beat him up, beat him up. In any case, I won't be the one to suffer the consequences of father-son discord in the future. It's up to you. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she hugged her shoulders and retreated to the side as if it had nothing to do with her. And Lin Chuan's eyes reddened. Yes, this was what he was thinking. It was a pity that he didn't have the eloquence of junior sister Jio. Although he felt aggrieved, he couldn't say it out loud. He naturally understood that Mountain Masterin was doing this for his own good, but he had his own thoughts. He really didn't like being manipulated by others in his life. Mountain Masterin didn't speak for a long time. He looked at Lin Chuan, whose eyes were red, and his heart felt like it was about to turn upside down. For a moment, his heart was in a mess. Was he really wrong? Yun Chujio blinked her eyes, straightened her back, and said, Mountain Masterin, I was indeed reckless in today's matter. I'll go to the law enforcement office to receive my punishment now. Goodbye. After saying that, this guy ran away. What a joke. If he didn't run now, would he be sent to the far west? When Mountain Masterin came back to his senses, Hei Shinjio had already run away. As for whether this guy went to the law enforcement office or not, who knew? Mountain Masterin glanced at the badly beaten disciples and snorted coldly, as inner sect disciples, you don't know how to cultivate properly. All you do is indulge in chasing after the wind and chasing after shadows. You're really useless. Reflect on yourselves. After Mountain Masterin finished speaking, he didn't bother with Lin Chuan, who was drooping his head. He just flicked his sleeves and left. The disciples of Arcade Peak were so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood. Why did it sound like they had been beaten up for nothing? Didn't Mountain Masterin say that he wanted to send that scourge to the far west? Just because that scourge said a few words, he didn't plan to pursue the matter. Before everyone got up, they heard Lin Chuan say fiercely, all of you, be careful. If anyone talks nonsense again, I won't forgive you. After Lin Chuan finished speaking, he suddenly felt refreshed. It turned out that it felt so good to act recklessly. Fuck, since it was already like this, he wouldn't return to the courtyard to be confined. Thus, he took out his identity jade token and sent a message to Yun Chujio, junior sister Xiaojio, where are you? I'll go look for you. Yun Chujio, this fellow, was jumping towards the law enforcement office when she received a message from Lin Chuan, asking him to go to the law enforcement office to look for her. When the disciples of the law enforcement office saw Yun Chujio, they all nodded and bowed. This guy was a VIP customer of the law enforcement office. He would come here every few days. It was hard not to recognize him. Manager Zhong saw that Yun Chujio was here again and immediately had the urge to run away. What did she do this time? Junior sister Yun, why are you here today? Manager Zhong asked tentatively. Well, I made a small mistake today, so I came here to turn myself in. Yun Chujio sat on the chair swaggeringly. She didn't look like a disciple who made a mistake, but more like a distinguished guest. Small mistake? What small mistake? It's nothing. I just beat up the disciples of the Arcade Peak. It's not too serious. It's just a bloody nose and a swollen face, Yun Chujio said casually. Manager Zhong's attention was on the word they. He asked with a trembling voice, how many disciples of the Arcade Peak did you beat up? Not many. About 30 or 40. Time is limited, so I only found these people. They spread rumors and slandered senior brother and me. I just taught them a lesson. Alright, this is my mistake. You can deal with it as you see fit. You can deal with it however you want. I have no objections. It would be best if you can be locked in the hole of reflection. After Hei Shinjo finished speaking, she crossed her legs and picked up the snacks on the table and started munching on them. Manager Zhong's head was buzzing. He had beaten up 30 to 40 disciples of Arcade Peak. You are playing tricks. He did not dare to easily make a decision to punish such a prickly person. He could only find an excuse to meet Elder Chu. After Elder Chu heard this, he was also dumbfounded. This matter could be big or small. It mainly depended on the attitude of Mountain Masterin of Arcade Peak, so he sent a message to Mountain Masterin. A moment later, Mountain Masterin replied to Elder Chu. The gist of it was that he did not have any objections and just let him deal with it according to the sect rules. Elder Chu stroked his beard. Mountain Masterin had a temper that lit a fire. How could he be so calm this time? It was really strange. Elder Chu eagerly came to ask for Master Bailey's instructions again. Once Master Bailey heard that it was about Yun Chujio, his head ached. If it was according to the sect rules, it would have been fine if he had entered the cave of reflection. However, Master Bailey always felt that Yun Chujio had no good intentions after entering the cave of reflection, so he gritted his teeth and said, punish her by locking her in the courtyard. Send people to guard around and don't let her out. In another 2 months, just send her to the Yuan killing sect. After receiving the message from Elder Chu, Manager Zhong returned to the front. He saw Yun Chujio and An Linchuan playing cards, and there was a circle of law enforcement disciples around them. The atmosphere was very discordant. Manager Zhong's nose almost went crooked from anger. After coughing twice, the law enforcement disciples immediately scattered back to their posts. Yun Chujio giggled, Manager Zhong, it just so happens that we are short of one. Come, let's fight the landlord. Fight the landlord? Fight your head. After announcing Master Bailey's decision, Manager Zhong said, Junior Sister Yun, you can go back to the courtyard now. Our law enforcement department will arrange 3 groups of people to rotate every day to ensure your safety. Yun Chujio curled her lips. He really valued her. However, if he was willing to arrange people to guard her, then so be it. Anyway, if she wanted to come out, those people didn't dare to stop her. Therefore, this guy forcefully dragged Manager Zhong to play the landlord fight for 4 hours before leaving the law enforcement office with An Linchuan. Manager Zhong's heart almost broke down. He had every reason to suspect that Yun Chujio and An Linchuan were in cahoots to cheat him of his spirit stones. Otherwise, why would he lose regardless of whether he was a landlord or a farmer? On the way, An Linchuan said guiltily, Junior Sister Xiaojiu, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. If I hadn't dragged you to my secret territory, none of this would have happened. It has nothing to do with you. Those people deserve a beating. Besides, I feel like I've taken advantage of them. Yun Chujio yelled at An Linchuan in the morning to vent her anger. Now that this guy had vented his anger, it naturally turned into a sunny day. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou didn't seem to be lying, and Lin Chuan felt a little better in his heart. Then, he said in a low voice, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, do you think that my father listened to your words? Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to find Master Bailey. Your father's motive is for your own good. He's just a little stubborn. He will understand. However, you also have a problem. How would your father know what you are thinking? So you have to communicate with him often. You're a father and son, not a cat and a mouse. What can't you tell him? Many things are not a big deal. It's just that there's a problem in communication." And Lin Chuan was thoughtful after hearing Yun Chuzhiu's words. He thought for a moment and said, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, what you said makes sense. I'll go back and have a good talk with my father." After Lin Chuan finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace. Yun Chuzhiu looked at Lin Chuan's back and shook her head. People could heal themselves, but others could not heal themselves. She said that other people were all well-behaved. Whenever she encountered a gigolo, her IQ would drop. Thinking about it carefully, there was actually nothing serious between her and the gigolo. It was just that there were some communication problems. If she had used a different method or told the gigolo in advance, perhaps the gigolo would not have such a big reaction. However, the gigolo's bad habit of running away from home and not returning the voice transmission talisman was really annoying. If there was a chance, he must be properly treated. Yun Chuzhiu strolled to the dormitory. Soon, the disciples of the law enforcement department took up their duties and surrounded Yun Chuzhiu's courtyard. However, when they saw Yun Chuzhiu's courtyard, they almost thought that they had found the wrong place. After confirming it again and again, they confirmed that they had not gone to the wrong place. Damn, why was this servant's courtyard better than the inner disciples' courtyard? However, they remembered what Manager Zhong had told them. The future stability and unity of the primordial chaos sect were all on their shoulders. All of them widened their eyes, afraid that Yun Chuzhiu would sneak out of the courtyard and harm the primordial chaos sect. A certain Jiu walked out of the courtyard with a smile while the law enforcement disciples were staring at Yun Chuzhiu's courtyard with full vigilance. "Come, it's tough to stand guard for me. Eat some melon seeds. Don't worry, I just beat up those dregs from Yaoguang Peak this morning. I don't plan to go out today." The law enforcement disciples immediately grasped the main point of Yun Chuzhiu's words. Today, she didn't plan to go out. It seemed that she still wanted to go out tomorrow. The leader of the law-enforcing disciples quickly advised her earnestly, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, please forgive us. Just stay in the courtyard in peace. We will get whatever you need. It depends on your mood. You can eat the sunflower seeds. I'll go in and catch up on my sleep." After He Xinjiu said that, she closed the gate and went back to catch up on her sleep. Those law enforcement disciples wanted to cry, but they had no tears. They could foresee that the days in the future would be exciting. "Boss, what should we do with these melon seeds?" A law enforcement disciple asked with 2 packets of melon seeds in his hands. "Eat them. What else can we do? At least we can kill time," the little leader said in a bad mood. After catching up on her sleep, He Xinjiu stretched her body. She rested her chin on her hand and pondered for a while. Then, she took out a sound transmission talisman and put it back after thinking for a while. She had already said what she should have said yesterday. If the gigolo could not figure it out, it would be useless for her to say anything more. Moreover, there was not even this little bit of trust between the two of them. How could they have a bullshit relationship? When this fellow thought of this, she decided not to think about de-biming anymore. She sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. She had absorbed a lot of lightning power in the mystic realm previously. It was just right to use it for cultivation. After she had refined all of it, it should be enough for her to advance another 2 levels. Yun Chuzhiu, on the other hand, was happily cultivating. After a certain someone who ran away from home flattened a mountain and destroyed a few trees, the anger in her heart finally subsided. Although he knew that Yun Chujio was just talking about a temporary measure, when he thought of his little wife calling another man her husband, his heart ached terribly. After he calmed down, a certain Jio regretted his childish behavior of running away from home. However, he felt embarrassed to go back just like that. After receiving Yun Chujio's voice transmission talisman, a certain Jio was ready to get off the mountain. Therefore, he returned to the Chaos Origins sect awkwardly in the early morning. He didn't expect that a certain Jio would go to Alcade Peak early in the morning to act like a demon. When a certain Jio had arrived at Yaoguang Peak, Yun Chujio was chatting with Mountain Master and because of An Linchuan's matter. When a certain Jio saw that Yun Chujio was actually speaking up for that monkey-faced guy, he remembered that this guy was also the subject of the eloping scandal, and it was even that fucking little husband. His vinegar bottle had turned over again. Thus, a certain Jio had once again run away from home. A certain someone squatted on a mountain top for a while. He originally thought that Yun Chujio would send him a voice transmission talisman again, but he did not expect that after waiting for a long time, there was no news at all. His face became even more gloomy. Even when the sun was setting in the west, Yun Chujio still ignored him. A certain someone could not sit still anymore. He walked around on the spot for a few rounds before finally gritting his teeth and arriving outside Yun Chujio's courtyard. When a certain law enforcement disciple saw those law enforcement disciples munching on melon seeds, his eyes immediately narrowed. What were these trash doing surrounding his little wife's courtyard? Di Baiming had the intention to send these law enforcement disciples away, but he was also afraid that it would cause too much commotion. Hence, he could only wait until the sky turned completely dark before flashing into Yun Chujio's courtyard. A certain being circled around the courtyard a few times, but he still couldn't put down his pride and pushed the door open to enter the house. A certain being was furious. Why couldn't the black thing send him a voice transmission talisman? If he sent a voice transmission talisman, wouldn't he be able to follow the flow and enter? After circling around a few more times, a certain being's eyes finally lit up. The black thing sent him a voice transmission talisman, but he didn't reply to a single one. If he replied now, the black thing would definitely continue to apologize. When that time came, it would be natural for him to enter the house again. When a certain being thought of this, he hurriedly took out a voice transmission talisman. After he sent his divine sense in, Yun Chujio's explanation was transmitted from inside. It was nothing more than saying that the husband of the eldest and the youngest was just a temporary measure and was not really blah blah blah. A certain being pondered over it and finally replied with an N. Then, he eagerly waited for Yun Chujio's reply. Inside the house, Yun Chujio noticed that the voice transmission talisman was trembling. When she saw that it was Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman, she could not help but twitch her lips. Was the pretty boy thinking things through? After Yun Chujio sent her divine sense in and found that there was only one sound, she pouted again, put away the voice transmission talisman and continued to cultivate. A certain honored warrior outside the room waited and waited. After a long time, there was no movement from the voice transmission talisman. He could not bear it anymore. Finally, he gritted his teeth and pushed the door open. Why didn't you reply to my voice transmission talisman? A certain honored warrior asked in a bad mood. Yun Chujio opened her eyes and glanced at him. I should be the one asking you this question, right? I sent you 6 or 7 voice transmission talismans, why didn't you reply to me? A certain Jio choked and then said righteously, this matter was originally your fault, why should I reply to you? Yun Chujio sneered. I did something wrong. Then do you think I should have foolishly admitted that I was Yun Chujio and then waited for someone to kill me and throw me into the sea to feed the bastard? Could it be that your mood is more important than my life and death? A certain Jio's imposing manner was instantly dispirited by her rebuke. She sat at the head of the bed angrily and did not say a word. Seeing this, Yun Chujio continued, I admit that I was indeed in the wrong. I should have told you tactfully. If I were to suddenly hear you say wife and wife, I would also be very angry. However, I have already explained it to you clearly. You shouldn't have been so angry. Do you know how worried I am that you would run away from home without replying to my voice transmission talisman? Think about it. If I ran away from home without replying to your voice transmission talisman, how would you feel? Most importantly, don't we even have this little bit of trust? If you think that I'm a fickle person, I have nothing to say. You can go. Yun Chujio's eyes turned red and tears fell from her eyes. A certain Jiao was not afraid of anything. She was only afraid that her daughter-in-law would cry. She stammered, I didn't say anything. Aren't I back now? SOB, I knew it. You don't believe me. In your heart, I'm like a butterfly who loves a flower. Sob, my heart is about to break. A certain Jiao became more and more sad as she spoke. She picked up the pillow on the bed and threw it at Di Biming. A certain Jiao did not have any temper after being hit. Seeing that Yun Chujio was getting more and more sad as she cried, she was so anxious that her forehead was sweating, she said loudly, No, Ben, I didn't mean that. You, don't cry. Can't you just consider me wrong? What do you mean you're wrong? You're wrong. You bastard, you wronged me, and you even destroyed my courtyard. You made my heart turn cold, sob sob, yes, it's all my fault. Don't cry. A certain someone felt that even if he was chased by the enemy, it was better than seeing his little wife cry. This was too torturous. SOB, will you run away from home in the future? Won't you reply to my voice transmission talisman in the future? Will you throw a tantrum in the future? I definitely won't. A certain Jiao shook her head like a rattledrum. Alright, then I'll reluctantly forgive you. Help me get some water and help me wipe my face. A certain Jiao was proud in her heart. Little fellow, I still can't teach you a lesson, Yutsundra. A certain Jiao started to get busy in a muddle-headed manner. She helped a certain Jiao wash her face and feet. In the end, she even sang a lullaby several times. Before a certain Jiao fell asleep, a question flashed through his mind. He was here to interrogate him. Why did it turn into an apology in the end? The next day, during breakfast, Yun Chujio told Di Biming what happened after that. Then, she said, Prince Charming, I have some new ideas about the Divine Devil Hall now. I think the Divine Devil Hall must have existed in the past. However, for some unknown reason, it fell and some survivors were suppressed in various places. The Lord must have been suppressed there too. In addition, the Divine Devil Hall. This name is really strange. How can gods and devils be combined together? Prince Charming, are there any clues about the Divine Devil Hall in the seal that you have broken? Di Biming shook his head. I have only broken 1/5 of the seal at most. I don't know much about many things. However, your guess should be correct. The Lord of the God-Fiend Temple must have been suppressed or sealed somewhere. Otherwise, he would have gone into battle personally. As for the name of the God-Fiend Temple, although there are some strange aspects, it doesn't mean anything. It could also be that they are deliberately mystifying things. Male God, I feel that the Yen race's invasion this time is definitely related to the Divine Devil Hall. Compared to the demon race, I hate the Yen race who are just a fence-sitter. Di Biming lightly snorted, the Yen race is just a clown. In the future, you will encounter a race that is even more despicable and shameless than the Yen race. Little Jiao, I might need to enter a secret realm to retrieve something very important. There, I won't be able to sense the jade token I gave you. So, don't leave the primordial chaos sect for the time being. Cultivate obediently. Do you hear me? A certain Jiao curled her lips and nodded. Got it. Wasn't it just the 8-character maxim? Cultivate properly and don't cause trouble. Don't worry. I'll need to refine the lightning energy that I absorbed before. I won't leave the primordial chaos sect. Even if the 3 months are up, I'll still stay here and not leave. Di Biming rubbed Yun Chujia's little head and said seriously, you must keep your word. Otherwise, I won't let you off after I come out. Yun Chujio shrunk her neck, looking like she was afraid of the baby. Actually, this fellow's mouth twitched in his heart. Won't let her off. Little fellow, it was still uncertain who would take care of who. You arrogant fellow. How could Di Biming know what this fellow was thinking? He nodded his head in satisfaction and said, although the Yen clan isn't worth mentioning, the humans have been at peace for too long. I reckon that this dispute won't be settled too quickly. Who knows, it might even affect the primordial chaos sect. You are just a handyman. When the time comes, don't rush to stand out, understand? Prince Charming, you are right. I am just a small handyman in the big kitchen. I will not stand out like a fool. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Di Biming saw that Yun Chujio was so obedient. Just as he was about to praise her, he heard someone shout from outside the courtyard, Junior sister Xiaojiu, senior brother Shengwan and I are here to see you. Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat. Damn, why are these 2 unlucky kids here? Aren't they just looking for trouble? Di Biming's expression instantly darkened. Yun Chujio quickly said in a fawning manner, my idol, I will let them go back now. I only want to accompany you now, how can I have time to care about those 2 idiots? Just as Yun Chujio was about to let An Linchuan and Yun Chujio leave, Di Biming narrowed his eyes, let them in, I have something to say to them. Yun Chujio wanted to stop him, but she was afraid that Di Biming would be jealous. She could only walk to the entrance of the courtyard and let them in. To prevent the disciples at the entrance from seeing him, Di Biming entered the house when Yun Chujio opened the door. An Linchuan said excitedly to Yun Chujio as soon as he entered the courtyard, Junior sister Xiaojiu, you are indeed my biological junior sister. I told you that you mean different things to me. From now on, I am yours. Yun Chujio really wanted to kick this idiot who couldn't speak human language out. What kind of crazy was he? What nonsense was he talking about? What did he mean that he was hers? It was over. The pretty boy was about to explode again. The courtyard that had been painstakingly built was about to be ruined again. Yun Chujio desperately gave An Linchuan a look. An Linchuan didn't know that there was a certain jealous person in the house, so he shouted loudly, Junior sister Xiaojiu, what happened to your eyes? Did you get sand in them? Do you need me to blow on them for you? Junior sister Xiaojiu, what happened to your eyes? Is there sand in them? Do you need me to blow on them for you? Yun Chujio did not know whether it was an illusion or not, but she felt that the temperature had dropped a little. She even felt that the house was trembling, so she quickly interrupted, Senior brother Shengwan, why are you looking for me? Yun Chujio specifically asked Shengwan how because she was afraid that An Linchuan would say something shocking. She did not expect this idiot to take the initiative to answer, Junior sister Xiaojiu, we are fine. We are just worried about you, so we came to see you. No matter what, we are still your husbands, aren't we? Only 2 words flashed through Yun Chujia's mind, it was over. As soon as An Linchuan finished his words, he flew out of the courtyard like a kite with a broken string. Moreover, it was the kind with its own sound effects. Shengwan Hao was slightly stronger than him. He was suppressed by the pressure and collapsed on the ground. His forehead was full of bean-sized beads of sweat. He looked at Yun Chujio in confusion. What was going on? An Linchuan, that unlucky child, was thrown thousands of feet away. Moreover, he landed on his face first. This guy was completely in a state of confusion as to where he was, what he was doing, and who he was. Those law enforcement disciples watched as a black figure flew out of the courtyard. They thought that Yun Chujio had escaped from prison, so they hurriedly ran over to take a look. Only then did they realize that it was Lin Chuan. "Junior brother, what are you? What are you doing?" The leader of the law enforcement disciples asked with a confused look. And Lin Chuan thought to himself, damn it, he also wanted to know what was going on. He was clearly talking in junior sister Little Jio's courtyard earlier, so why did he suddenly fly out? Did I encounter a ghost? This fellow got up and staggered to the entrance of Yun Chujio's courtyard again. Unfortunately, before he could call for the door, he flew out tragically again. A certain Jio saw Lin Chuan's miserable state through the crack of the door and shrunk her neck. "Senior brother, you can count on yourself. You did this all by yourself." At this moment, Shangguan Hao, who was slumped on the ground, was drenched in cold sweat. His heart felt like it had been bleeded by a dog. Was he possessed? The unlucky Lin Chuan was sent flying 5 times before he finally stumbled into the courtyard. "Little ninth junior sister, there's a ghost in your courtyard." "Eh? Senior brother Shangguan, what's wrong with you? It's not raining today, why are your clothes all wet?" As soon as this idiot finished speaking, he was knocked down by a huge pressure, and he landed face first. Just as this idiot was about to say something, the door of the house was pushed open, and a man walked out. The man was dressed in white, and he was covered by the light of the sun. He was as cold as a god, and he looked at Hei Xinjiu as if he was a dead man. Hei Xinjiu was about to smooth things over and introduce them to each other when she heard Lin Chuan shouting excitedly, "God! Isn't this the God who saved us? Oh my God, I actually saw a living God. God, do you take in disciples? The kind that will serve you 24/7. God, why are you standing there? Quickly sit down. God, are you thirsty? Junior sister Jill, hurry up and serve the God tea. And snacks and spiritual fruits must be served as well. God, was it you who threw me out just now? Oh my God. If I knew this would happen, I would have experienced this blissful feeling while I was flying. Master, please continue flying." Yun Chujio, why did she feel like she was a brainless fan? Yun Chujio was about to exchange views with Shangguan Hao when she saw that although Shangguan Hao wasn't as exaggerated as Lin Chuan, his face was flushed red and his lips were trembling from excitement. He was simply another brainless fan. Yun Chujio, oh my God. Was there a need to be so exaggerated? Wasn't it just a wisp of the pretty boy's spiritual sense that had saved them once? Was it really good to worship them blindly? Compared to Yun Chujio's confusion, a certain lord was still rather calm. Perhaps he had encountered such situations many times in the past and was already used to it. However, seeing these two useless people, a certain lord could basically confirm that they did not dare to have any thoughts of coveting his little wife. Only then did his expression ease up a little. In the following period of time, Hei Xinjiu found that she was basically invisible now. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao couldn't bear to look at them anymore. They almost knelt on the ground and kowtowed to their ancestors. A certain Jiu watched a fan meeting from the side, although a certain Jiu was basically, huh? Yeah. Even so, the two brainless fans were so excited that their faces were full of excitement. A certain Jiu thought sourly in her heart, isn't it just that the pretty boy's spiritual power is a little stronger? Is there a need to be so sycophantic? He really has no moral integrity. This fellow would never admit it, she also felt a little honored in her heart. Her little fairy Jiu's taste in men was really good, even men couldn't resist the charm of the pretty boy. Finally, Lin Chuan patted his chest to show his loyalty. God, don't worry, leave junior sister little Jiu to me. If anyone dares to bully junior sister little Jiu, I'll kill them. Well, God, can you slap me away again? Yun Chujio, fuck. Idiot. That's enough. Yun Chujio finally sent away the two brainless fans. When An Linchuan left, he was very reluctant to part with them. If it wasn't for Di Baiming's strong aura, this guy would have gone up and begged to be taken in. Although Shang Guanhao was a little reserved, could you explain why his eyes were red like a rabbit's? After the two of them left, Yun Chujio said sourly, Prince Charming, I think these two guys should like you more than me. Should I be jealous of them? Di Baiming was obviously in a good mood at the moment. He said indifferently, although those two are a little useless, they are still passable. Yun Chujio curled her lips. What was passable? It was flattery. Bah! Shameless. In the evening, when Yun Chujio was about to prepare dinner, An Linchuan's voice sounded outside the courtyard. Junior sister Xiaojiu, open the door. We are here to see you again. The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. To see her? Probably to see a gigolo. Yun Chujio opened the courtyard door. An Linchuan and Shang Guanhao jogged in. They greeted Di Baiming with excitement on their faces. An Linchuan looked at the stone table in the yard with disdain and said, Junior sister Jiu, your stone table is too small. I can't even fit a few dishes on it. Fortunately, I have prepared something else. I brought a big table. An Linchuan said as he made a big table and started to place the dishes on it. The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched again. This table was indeed big enough. Fuck, this table was not crowded even when there were 20 people around it. Aren't you flattering me a little too much? The huge table was filled with all kinds of dishes, including fried, stir-fried, and fried dishes, and Linchuan said attentively, Master, time is limited. We only have time to prepare these few dishes. Please make do with them. I have already ordered the people in the kitchen to work overtime overnight. Tomorrow's breakfast will definitely make you more satisfied. While An Linchuan was talking, Shang Guanhao used his sleeve to wipe the chair and then said attentively, Master, please take a seat. Yun Chujio, damn, I really want to strangle these two brainless fans to death. What the hell? After Di Baiming sat down, An Linchuan and Shang Guanhao served him attentively on both sides. There was an excited look on their faces, as if it was a great honor to serve Di Baiming. Yun Chujio was speechless at the actions of the two brainless fans. She reckoned that the gigolo would never mention anything about her husband in the future. These two idiots were simply the gigolo's concubines. This fellow once again made up her mind to become stronger. Damn it, one day she would also have brainless fans, and they would be even more brainless than these two idiots. Humph. After dinner, Yun Chujio gave several orders to kick them out. The two brainless fans acted as if they did not hear her and were reluctant to leave. Di Baiming said indifferently, this venerable self is a little tired, you guys can go back. Okay, great God, we will go back now. Okay, great God, you should rest early. Then, the two idiots quickly left. Yun Chujio, Prince Charming, may I ask how it feels to have two brainless fans? A certain Jiu asked sourly. Although Di Baiming had never heard of brainless fans, he roughly understood what Yun Chujio wanted to express. He said lightly, I have no feelings, no other feelings. I'm used to it. Yun Chujio, can't you just pretend to be dead? Early the next morning, An Linchuan and Shang Guanhao came to court them. Yun Chujio looked at the breakfast on the table and her eyes twitched. There were dozens of porridge, hundreds of pasta dishes, and various side dishes. Damn it, she was struck by lightning. After breakfast, the two of them served tea and water and asked some questions about cultivation. Di Baiming was in a good mood and answered their questions patiently. An Linchuan and Shang Guanhao were enlightened. They looked at Di Biming with even more admiration. They almost knelt down and worshipped him. Yun Chujio looked at the three of them who were chatting happily. She felt sour in her heart. Damn it, why did she feel like her man was stolen? A certain Jiao became more and more annoyed the more she looked at the two brainless fans. In the end, she picked up a large kitchen knife and chased them out. A certain Jiao's eyes flashed with a faint light. So little Jiao was so cute when she was jealous. Should she design something like this in the future? Therefore, when An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao came again in the afternoon, a certain Jiao's explanation became even more patient. A certain Jiao was so angry that she was twitching. Not only did she have to guard against little bitches, but now she even had to guard against men. Was she being kind? A certain Jiao might have had a sense of crisis. At night, she acted coquettishly and cutely towards a certain Jiao. A certain Jiao had a thought before she went to bed. This method was not bad. Those two pieces of trash still had some uses. The poor two brainless fans thought that their solicitude had earned the attention of the god. Who knew that they were just tools for a certain Jiao to cling on to her? Di Biming wanted to stay a few more days, but he received Shui Wuji's voice transmission talisman the next day, so he had to leave in a hurry. When An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao found out that Di Biming had left, they looked like eggplants that had been hit by frost, as if they had nothing to live for. He Xinjiu couldn't hold it in anymore and asked, Senior Brother Shangguan, I don't understand. Isn't the pretty boy just a little more spiritual power and a little more angry? Do you have to be like this? What? Gigolo? Junior sister Jiao, you have gone too far. How dare you slander the god in our hearts? Shut up. An Linchuan said angrily. Although Shangguan Hao did not say anything, his eyes were full of disapproval. If eyes could kill, Yun Chujio felt that she had most likely become a sieve. Yun Chujia's heart was like a beeping dog as she said weakly, I just misspoke. So, can you give me an answer now? An Linchuan did not answer Yun Chujia's question. Instead, he said angrily, HMPH. Even if it was just a slip of the tongue, it won't do. Although you are my blood junior sister, if you ever disrespect the great god again in the future, senior brother won't agree. Yun Chujio felt that her brain was not enough. Fuck, could it be that these two guys had been drugged by the gigolo? Just as Yun Chujio was cursing in her heart. She heard An Linchuan continue, in the immortal Yuan continent, the strong are respected. A strand of the great god's spiritual sense instantly killed hundreds of people from the divine devil hall. What kind of godly power is this? Even Master Bailey couldn't do it, let alone that it was just a strand of the great god's spiritual sense. Thinking about how I was slapped away by the great god 5 times, I felt my heart surge. After I went back, I kept that set of sect clothes. This is my first intimate contact with the great god. A certain Jiao's eyes twitched violently. She really wanted to vomit. An Linchuan continued to express his admiration for a certain god. Shangguan Hao, who was beside him, also showed an expression of worship. Ahem, okay, I know how much you admire our young and our Prince Charming. But now that he has left, can we play landlord for a while? An Linchuan said with a resentful tone, Junior sister little Jiao, the Almighty once said that he wanted us to cultivate properly. How can you waste your time? Hurry up and go cultivate. Well, help the Almighty keep an eye on you. That's right, Junior sister little Jiao. Although you're very smart, your spiritual power is still too weak. Don't be playful in the future. Hurry up and cultivate. Don't disappoint the Almighty's expectations of you. A certain Jiao, heavens. No wonder the pretty boy did not repeat the 8-character mantra several times when he left this time. It turned out that he had arranged some brainless fans to keep an eye on her. How ruthless. From that day onwards, An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao took turns to keep an eye on a certain Zhou's cultivation. As a result, the disciples of the law enforcement department were so touched that they could not help but be touched. They felt that An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao had been keeping an eye on Yun Chuzhou in Yun Chujia's courtyard for the sake of the stability and unity of the Primordial Chaos sect and for the long-term peace and stability of the Primordial Chaos sect. As expected of a true disciple, they really had the ability to see the big picture and the spirit of dedication. For several days in a row, Yun Chuzhou had been obediently cultivating in the courtyard. Everyone in the Primordial Chaos sect felt that things had suddenly calmed down a lot. Especially the law enforcement department, they felt that they were so bored that they were almost moldy. On this day, the peaceful life had been broken. The Alliance army that was battling with the Nightmare Clan in the far west had fallen into the Nightmare Clan's scheme, resulting in a crushing defeat and heavy casualties. Many experts sent by the super-aristocratic families blew up their dantian and all died in battle. Many experts of the Sky-bearing Alliance blew up their dantian and all died in battle. Many elders sent by the Killing Origin sect blew up their dantian and all died in battle. Many elders sent by the Chaos Origin sect blew up their dantian and all died in battle. It was precisely because of these people's self-sacrifice that temporarily prevented the Yen clan from crossing the final barrier of the human race. Otherwise, once the Yen clan crossed the final barrier of the human race, they would scatter all over the Immortal Origin continent. At that time, it would be even more difficult to catch them all in one fell swoop. When the news arrived, the entire Immortal Essence continent was plunged into grief, indignation, and fear. No one had expected that the Yen clan had become so powerful in the past tens of thousands of years, even faintly surpassing the strength of the demon race. The most important thing now was to continue to send cultivators to stop the Yen clan's advance. Otherwise, once the Yen clan crossed the barrier, the consequences would be unimaginable. As two super sects, the Hun Yuan sect and the Killing Yuan sect were naturally the first to bear the brunt. However, in order to prevent the Divine Devil Hall from taking the opportunity to play tricks, they still left half of their people to guard. As a small handyman in the big kitchen, Yun Chuzhou naturally didn't need her to charge into the battle. However, An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao, as core disciples, were duty-bound. They usually enjoyed better treatment than others, so they naturally had to be the first to charge in when they were in danger. Before the two departed, they came to bid farewell to Yun Chuzhou. An Linchuan had changed from his usual cheerful manner. He said very seriously, "Junior sister Little Ninth, we might not have the chance to meet again after we leave. You're just a handyman, so it's not your turn. Just stay in the Primordial Chaos sect obediently. Even if the Yen clan really breaks through the humans' defensive line, the Primordial Chaos sect will be safe because of the sect's protective array. When the god comes out, you will have the amulet and you will be safe." Yun Chuzhou did not have much of a feeling before, but after hearing An Linchuan's words, she suddenly realized that the threat of the nightmare race was already so great. She recalled what Di Baiming had said. The human race had been at ease for too long, and the nightmare race had been preparing for a counterattack. The human race would definitely suffer a heavy blow. Yun Chuzhou was actually a very contradictory person. Call her selfish, but she would stand up in many critical moments. However, there were many times when she was afraid of death and would secretly hide behind to pick up scraps. In fact, one of the criteria for this fellow to do things was to depend on his mood, while the other was to protect his own shortcomings. If An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao had not gone to the far west to face the enemy, this fellow would have been able to hide in the Primordial Chaos sect in peace. However, now that he saw that the two of them were going to the battlefield, this fellow could not hide anymore. Thus, this fellow eagerly went to Master Bailey and requested to participate in the battle in the far west. Master Bailey flatly rejected her request. Although Master Bailey usually had a headache because of a certain Zhou's troublemaking, if he did not value Yun Chuzhou, he could find a reason to expel her from the primordial chaos sect. How could he allow her to do as she pleased? Yun Chuzhou put in a bunch of good words, but Master Bailey did not agree in the end. He Xinjiu could only return to her dormitory with her head lowered. 3 days later, the elders and disciples of the primordial chaos sect headed to the far west region. Unlike the previous trials, everyone's faces were filled with grief and indignation. Some were sad about the sacrifices they had made, and some were terrified about the unknown road ahead. A certain Jiu in the crowd shook her head. This aura was not right at first. With such a spirit, going to the battlefield would be suicide. No, she had to think of a way to go with them. She could not watch her good friend die. Moreover, the others were all old acquaintances, such as Mountain Master Zhua, Elder Jing, and Elder Yuan. She could not remain indifferent. However, Master Bailey had flatly rejected her request. If she wanted to follow him, she could only go secretly. This fellow counted with his fingers. It happened to be the 3rd month, so this fellow had an idea. 2 days after Linchuan and the others set off, He Xinjiu found Master Bailey and proposed to go to the Yuan-killing sect. Master Bailey was in a terrible situation. He felt that it would be good to send this fellow to the Yuan-killing sect. Therefore, Master Bailey sent Master Xiaohu a voice transmission talisman and asked him to send someone to pick up Yun Chuzhou. Master Xiaohu was also in a terrible situation. He asked his disciple Leng Kuei to come to the primordial chaos sect to pick up Yun Chuzhou. Leng Kuei didn't have a good impression of Yun Chuzhou in the first place. Moreover, with a great enemy in front of him, this guy actually caused trouble at this time. He really didn't know what to do. Leng Kuei didn't bring any other disciples. He arrived at the primordial chaos sect alone in a huff. A certain Jiu said goodbye to Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu. Then, she left the mountain gate of the primordial chaos sect and hopped onto Leng Kuei's flying spirit tool. Humph! Yun Chuzhou, you're really good. At this time, you still have the mood to mess around in 2 sects. You're really heartless. Leng Kuei said with a cold face. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. When? Isn't the 3-month period over? When else could it be? You're simply a scum. Don't you know that the Immortal Origin continent is currently facing a huge crisis? The defensive line of the far west region is in imminent danger. If it wasn't for those benevolent people who sacrificed themselves for justice, the defensive line would have long collapsed. Not to mention anything else, 2 days ago, another batch of brave warriors rushed to the far west. It was very likely that they would lose their lives. You are good. It's fine if you don't help, but you are actually playing tricks. If you aren't a scum of the Immortal Essence continent, then what are you? Clap clap. Clap clap. Yun Chuzhou clapped her hands a few times. Senior Brother Leng, what you said was really wonderful. Since you are so righteous, then let me ask you, why didn't you go to the front line? This is the pot calling the kettle black. What right do you have to criticize me? Leng Kuei was almost suffocated by the rebuke. You are twisting logic. I am a disciple of the Shi Yuan sect, so I naturally have to listen to the sect's arrangements. If the sect agrees to let me go to the front line, I will definitely not refuse. Humph. That's a nice way of putting it. You still listen to the sect's arrangements. I think you are just cowardly. Has the sect tied your legs or tied your waist? If you have the intention, you can definitely rush to the far west right now. Pooey. You are just a coward who plays with your mouth. Coward. Coward. Yun Chuzhou cursed with her hands on her waist. How could Leng Kuei endure this? He originally wanted to go to the far west, but it was Master Xiaohu who forced him to stay in the origin killing sect. Now that he was provoked by Yun Chuzhou, he immediately felt hot-blooded. He gnashed his teeth and said, "Good. Good. Get down there, and go to the origin-killing sect on your own. I will adjust the direction of the flying spirit tool now and rush to the far west to participate in the battle. TSK, who knows if you are hiding in a corner? I will go with you. I want to see if you are fooling me," Yun Chujio said with a cold smile. Leng Kuei was so angry that he was twitching. "Good. Good. Don't regret it when the time comes." Leng Kuei immediately changed the direction of the flying spirit tool and went straight to the far west. Yun Chujio was overjoyed. Done. Not only did she successfully escape from the Hunyuan sect, but she also kidnapped a free follower. It was simply perfect. Soon, 3 days passed. After Leng Kuei calmed down, he realized that he had been goaded by Yun Chujio. The reason why Leng Kuei thought so was that a certain Zhou's leisurely expression did not look like she was supervising him at all. Instead, she looked like a petty person who had gotten what she wanted. "Yun Chujio, did you plan to use me to go to the far west from the beginning?" Leng Kuei asked angrily. "You figured it out in only 3 days. Aren't you too stupid?" Yun Chujio said with a smile while chewing on the spirit fruit. You are despicable." "Despicable? How am I despicable? Did I force you with a knife or whip you? Besides, didn't you want to go to the far west? We hit it off." Leng Kuei was rendered speechless. He couldn't say that he was impulsive before, but now he regretted it. It wasn't that he was afraid of death, but that he had disobeyed Master Xiaohu's orders and would be punished by the sect rules in the future. Master Xiahou was probably too busy to think straight, so he had not summoned Leng Kuei for the past few days. He still did not know that his disciple had been abducted by Calamity 9 to the far west. Leng Kuei glared fiercely at Yun Chujio, then, he said, "Why do you have to go to the far west? You are not thinking of harming the allied army, are you? I'm warning you. It's fine if it's just a small matter, but now is the moment of life and death for the immortal essence continent. If you continue to cause trouble, they'll kill you first." Yun Chujio glanced at Leng Kuei as if she was looking at an idiot. "Senior brother Leng Kuei, is there something wrong with your brain? I'm not stupid. Why would I harm the allied forces? If I want to harm them, I'll harm the nightmare race, alright?" "Humph. That's easy for you to say. Harm the nightmare race? You piece of trash, you'll die in less than 2 days in the far west region. If I were you, I'd take a flying spirit tool and return to the primordial chaos sect right now to avoid harming others and myself," Leng Kuei said disdainfully. "I'm not going back. If I go back now, people will say that I'm afraid of death. Even if I have to grit my teeth, I will persevere to the far west," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Leng Kuei was not stupid. He naturally knew that Yun Chujio was listening to him. He flung his sleeves and ignored this fellow. He turned around and went to another cabin. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During this time, Master Xiahou finally realized that Leng Kuei and Yun Chujio had not returned to the origin-killing sect. When Leng Kuei received Master Xiaohu's message, he immediately wanted to return to the origin-killing sect. However, he had a bad bag by his side, so he could only grit his teeth and disobey the order. Master Xiahou was so angry that he stomped his feet, but there was nothing he could do. On this day, the flying spirit tool landed in Mingsha City. Mingsha City was still thousands of miles away from the last line of defense in the far west, the vast Gobi Desert. However, after Mingsha City was the far west Sand Sea, where flying was prohibited. Therefore, Yun Chujio and Leng Kuei could only stay in Mingsha City for a short while. After replenishing their supplies, they continued on their journey. Mingsha City was originally just a small and unknown city. However, ever since the invasion of the Yen clan, this place, which was the nearest supply station, had suddenly become bustling with noise and excitement. The moment Yun Chuzhou and Leng Kuei entered the city, they were stunned by the crowd of people in the small city who were shoulder to shoulder with one another. Upon closer inspection, they realized that these people were actually itinerant cultivators from all over the world who had come to participate in the battle on their own accord. They were prepared to stay in Mingsha City for a short while before heading to the far west of the Gobi Desert to participate in the battle. Yun Chuzhou sighed in her heart. People were like this. When there were no external enemies, they would be happy to fight among themselves. However, when there were external enemies, they could be united like never before. It could only be said that human nature was the most unpredictable. As there were many independent cultivators, they had formed an independent cultivator alliance on their own initiative. Moreover, they had selected a few people as their leaders to coordinate and command. This way, they could also increase their efficiency. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes and said to Leng Kuei, "Senior brother Leng Kuei, we are all alone. Why don't we join the alliance of rogue cultivators? Once we reach the vast desert, we can join the alliance army." Although Leng Kuei looked down on Yun Chuzhou, he had to admit that this was a good idea. After all, the environment of the extreme western desert sea was harsh. Moreover, there were many demonic beasts and demonic insects. With more people, they could take care of each other. Moreover, everyone's goal was the same. They all wanted to fight against the Yen clan. Therefore, Leng Kuei said coldly, "It's possible to join them, but from now on, you should try to speak less and not cause more trouble." Yun Chuzhou nodded obediently. "Senior brother Leng Kuei, don't worry. From now on, I will listen to you." Seeing that Yun Chuzhou was so obedient, Leng Kuei's expression eased up a little. Although he could be considered to have been kidnapped, his original intention was to contribute to the fight against the Yen clan. He could be considered to have asked for mercy. Therefore, the two of them found the registration point of the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance and prepared to register. The registration procedure was very simple. It was nothing more than a description of the name and spiritual power level, and then they would be assigned to the corresponding team in the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance. The Freelance Martial Artist Alliance was divided into 3 teams according to the level of spiritual power. The team with the highest spiritual power was the first team, followed by the second team, and the team with the lowest spiritual power was the third team. Leng Kuei was at the 8th level of the spiritual void tier and was assigned to the second team. As for a certain Jiu, she was rejected because she was only at the 6th level of the spiritual void tier. "Miss, although it's good that you have the intention to contribute to the immortal essence continent, this person has to do what he can. Your spiritual power is too low. It's better for you to leave Mingsha City as soon as possible," said a middle-aged man in charge of the registration. Leng Kuei felt that he had vented his anger. He deserved it. Let's see how this bad news bag is going to show off. Yun Chuzhou regretted it. If she had known that there was a requirement for spiritual power, she would have secretly adjusted the spiritual power level to the first level of the spiritual void tier. She rolled her eyes and said, "Uncle, although my spiritual power is not high, I have a specialty. I can cook with fire. People are made of iron and rice are made of steel. In this war, the logistics work is also very important. Please take me as a cook's army." The middle-aged man from the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance hesitated for a moment. Although cultivators always brought dry food with them, it would still be good if they could eat warm food. So he said, "Well, in that case, I'll take you in. Later, I'll arrange a few people with low spiritual power to form a cook's army with you. You guys go and buy some cooking utensils and ingredients. When the time comes, I'll leave the cooking to you." Leng Kuei, who was standing at the side, twitched the corner of his mouth. How could this work? However, This guy was a fire-burning girl in the Chaos Origin sect and a fire-burning girl in the Murder Origin sect. He did not expect that he was still a fire-burning girl now. She and the fire-burning girl were really fated. Just when Leng Kuei was cursing in his heart, he heard Yun Chujio say with a smile, "There's no need to find someone else. My brother and I can do it alone." Leng Kuei did not realize that the brother that Yun Chujio was talking about was him. When the middle-aged man changed the jade plate in his hand to the cook's army Leng Kuei, he almost lost his breath. Hei Shinjiu also got a jade plate with the words, "Cook's Army Leng Xiaojiu," written on it. This guy dragged the livid Leng Kuei along with the spiritual stones that the middle-aged man had transferred to him and bought pots, pans, and many other ingredients on the street. Leng Kuei's face turned ashen as he said, "Yun Chujio, what do you mean? If you're willing to be the cook's army, you can be it yourself. Why did you drag me along?" "Brother," called Leng Xiaojiu now. "Don't call me that. We're brother and sister. Of course, we have to be together. Besides, what's wrong with being the cook's army? Everyone in the Loose Cultivator Alliance has to leave us alone. If anyone offends me, they'll put laxatives in their food." Leng Kuei, he really wanted to strangle this guy to death. This scourge was just messing around here. Although Leng Kuei was unhappy, it was already a fact, so he could only swallow his anger. 2 days later, the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance recruited thousands of people and sailed into the far west Sand Sea. Yun Chujio suddenly thought of an important question. Fuck, there were only 2 of her and Leng Kuei. How could they take care of so many people's food? It was already good enough to take care of the food for 100 people. Fortunately, the middle-aged man, Feng Ji, found her and said, "Leng Xiaojiu, you and your sister are only in charge of the food for the first team. I have arranged for the rest of the food for the other 2 teams." The reason why Feng Ji arranged it this way was that the people in the first team were all itinerant cultivators with high spiritual power. They were very arrogant. He felt that Yun Chujio was smart and should be able to handle it, so he let her and Leng Kuei be in charge of the food in the first team. Although Yun Chujio's cooking skills were not that good, her mouth was sweet. Moreover, those itinerant cultivators did not pay much attention to the desire of their stomachs. As long as they could have a warm mouth, it was enough. Therefore, they managed to handle it smoothly for 2 days. As they went deeper into the Sand Sea, the environment became more and more terrible. During the day, it was as hot as a stove, but at night, it was bone-chilling. Although these itinerant cultivators were all cultivators, they still complained endlessly. A certain Jiu was the only one who was fine. She was still alive and kicking like a happy rabbit. Since Yun Chujio and Leng Kuei were the cook's army of the first team, they followed behind the first team and naturally enjoyed a lot of benefits. For example, when they encountered demonic beasts or demonic insects, the spirit energy of the first team's itinerant cultivators was the highest and they could end the battle very quickly. Moreover, Yun Chujio and Leng Kuei didn't need to do anything. The 2 of them could just wait at the back. Moreover, although these itinerant cultivators didn't have a sect, the fact that they could cultivate to such a high level of spiritual power meant that they had their own outstanding points and were quite wealthy. Therefore, they would occasionally give Yun Chujio and Leng Kuei some rewards, such as elixirs and spirit fruits. As the successor disciple of Master Xiaohu, Leng Kuei naturally didn't like these things. However, in order to avoid causing trouble, he still thanked them and accepted them. As for Hei Shinjiu, she never complained that she had too much money, so she naturally accepted them with a smile. This way, someone's red-eyed disease would be triggered. Especially the cooks from the other 2 teams, they were also cooks, so how could Leng Kuei and his sister cook for the first team? They had to cook for the second and third teams. Also, some people from the third team felt that Yun Chujio and Leng Kuei had a relationship, so they went to cook for the first team. How despicable. Thus, there were many gossips. That Leng Kuei is still passable. Although she can't reach the spirit power standard of the first team, she can still meet the spirit power standard of the second team. However, that Leng Xiaojiu is only at the 6th level of the Ling Xian realm. What right does she have to be the vanguard of the first team? That's right. I think she didn't go to resist the Yen clan at all. She must have some ulterior motives. Maybe she wants to find a senior with high spirit power to be her disciple. Pooey. She didn't even look at herself in the mirror. Although she's good-looking, her aptitude is so poor. Who would take her in as a disciple? It's more like taking her in as a concubine. When Leng Kuei heard these rumors, he wanted to find someone to fight. Although he looked down on Yun Chujio, no matter what, Yun Chujio was still considered half a member of the Shi Yuan sect. He naturally couldn't just sit by and do nothing. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio stopped him. Those who are clear are clear. There's no need to waste your breath on them. There's no need. Leng Kuei was really a little surprised. He thought that with this troublemaker's character, she would definitely cause a big scene. He did not expect her to be so calm. Just because Yun Chujio wanted to calm things down did not mean that some people would be tactful. Just as Yun Chujio and Leng Kuei were preparing dinner, two people came over to find trouble with them with unpleasant expressions. TSK, is this food for humans? How dare you call yourselves the Cook's Army? One of the men with a garlic nose said. San Jiaoyan, who was standing beside him, sneered and then echoed, that's right. If you know your place, then switch with us. Go and cook for the third team. The voices of the two people were very loud and soon attracted a crowd of people. Among them, there were some who wanted to see Yun Chujio make a fool of herself. They hugged their shoulders and came over to watch the show. Leng Kuei's face was gloomy. Just as he was about to argue with the two of them, Yun Chujio laughed lightly. The food we cook is not for humans. The seniors of the first team have been eating for a few days. Could it be that they are not humans? Also, if you want to trade with us and let us cook for the third team, then aren't the people in the third team humans? Garlic choked and said in a flustered and exasperated manner, you stinky girl, you're so eloquent. Let me tell you, you have to change today, even if you don't want to. At this moment, Feng Ji heard the commotion and rushed over. These unaffiliated cultivators were used to being free and undisciplined. Even though they had elected the so-called alliance leader, steward, and the others, they were not particularly obedient. Their thoughts were very simple. If worst came to worst, they could just go back. It was not like they had to go fight against the Nightmare Clan. Moreover, Feng Ji was only a middle-level steward in the unaffiliated cultivator alliance. Therefore, even when they saw him coming over, the Garlic Nose and San Jiaoyan were not afraid. Instead, they raised their voices, Manager Feng, you came at the right time. Look at the food made by Leng Xiaojiu. Isn't this too bad? So we applied to switch with them. We will cook for the seniors of the first team, and they will cook for the people of the third team. Feng Ji was a kinder person. Otherwise, he would not have accepted Yun Chujio as a cook. He gently advised, both of you, this was a sign before we set off. It's not good to make any changes. Let's forget it. When Garlic Nose saw that Feng Ji was so easy to talk to, his voice became even louder. Manager Feng, what you said is wrong. Things are dead, people are alive. Since they did not do well, why should they stay in the first team? We joined the Loose Cultivator Alliance to fight against the Nightmare Clan, not to be bullied. You're clearly favoring them. Could it be that you've accepted their benefits? Hearing the Garlic Nose's words, the surroundings immediately erupted into a clamor. The people in the first team only watched coldly from the side. No one came out to speak. They thought highly of themselves and naturally did not want to get involved in these miscellaneous matters. The alliance leader and the other stewards of the alliance of itinerant cultivators also did not stand out. They were not willing to incur the displeasure of everyone over such a small matter. Yun Chuzhou laughed coldly in her heart. These loose cultivators were the typical unorganized and undisciplined people. They were just a pile of loose sand, yet they still wanted to help the alliance army fight against the Nightmare Clan. It would be good if they did not cause any trouble. Feng Ji persuaded them nicely for a while more, but not only did the Garlic Nose and San Jiaoyan not restrain themselves, instead, they became even more brazen. Leng Kuei, Leng Xiaojiu, bring your things and scram to the third team right now. Otherwise, don't blame us for not being polite. Yun Chuzhou observed for a while and realized that she couldn't count on anyone in the unaffiliated cultivator alliance. It was better to use fists. So, she smiled at Leng Kuei. Brother, we haven't done anything for a long time. Since they came to us, there's no need for us to be polite. Well, beat them up. I'll cheer for you from the back. Leng Kuei, are you ordering this silly boy around? However, he was already furious and gave a slap to San Jiaoyan's nose. Although Leng Kuei was angry, he knew his limits. Therefore, he did not use his spiritual power to attack. Even so, his spiritual power was much higher than San Jiaoyan's and San Jiaoyan's, otherwise, the two of them would not have been assigned to be the cook's army. Leng Kuei did not spend much effort to beat San Jiaoyan and San Jiaoyan to the ground. He Xinjiu immediately went over and kicked them. Bah! You are a trash who overestimated yourself. Get lost, we are going to cook. San Jiaoyan and San Jiaoyan got up and ran away amidst the laughter of the crowd, but their eyes were full of viciousness. An hour later, Yun Chuzhou and Leng Kuei had just handed out the dinner when they saw a group of people rushing over aggressively. San Jiaoyan and the Garlic Nose led the way, their faces full of arrogance. Brat! Do you think that beating us up will be in vain? Kneel down immediately and apologize to us brothers. Also, give up the position of the first group of cooks. Otherwise, I won't let you off today. The people behind San Jiaoyan and Garlic Nose were all from the third team. They had known San Jiaoyan and Garlic Nose before, and they had promised benefits, so they had followed San Jiaoyan and helped him out. These people had nothing to fear. Although the Loose Cultivator Alliance had an alliance leader, it was just a decoration. At the very most, they wouldn't go against the Yen clan. They would just go back. Moreover, if the Garlic Nose and San Jiaoyan had a relationship with the seniors of the first team, they would also benefit. The pills that those seniors casually took out were all things that they could not wish for. Leng Kuei frowned. Although his spiritual power was higher than these people's, it was difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. If they really fought, he would not be able to gain an advantage. Rumble. After a loud sound, although San Jiaoyan and the others were not injured, they were all covered in dust and dirt. Damn it! Do you think we are easy to bully? Don't be so shameless. Do you recognize the thing in my hand? Do you know how to count? If you don't get lost, I won't have a problem throwing one. I'll give you 3 numbers. If you don't get lost, I'll keep throwing 1, 2, as soon as Yun Chuzhou said 2, San Jiaoyan and the others scattered. What a joke. If they didn't run, would they be blown to pieces? Leng Xiaojiu was holding 2 thick stacks of talismans in her left and right hands. They seemed to be explosive talismans. San Jiaoyan and the rest of the low-level itinerant cultivators had limited money, and the talismans were generally expensive. Who had ever seen someone take out so many talismans in one go? A wise man would not be at a disadvantage. They were just the first group of cooks. If they really lost their lives, it would not be worth it. Originally, they thought that they were 2 soft persimmons. They did not expect that they were actually tough people. Of course, Yun Chujia's 2 stacks of talismans could only intimidate San Jiaoyan and the others. They were nothing to the people of the second and first teams. After this incident, Feng Yanyu and Feng Yanyu suddenly became much less gossipy. However, everyone felt that Yun Chujio was just relying on the talismans in her hands. Once she used up all the talismans in her hands, they would see what she would do. A 6th-level Ling Xian realm cultivator would die a tragic death sooner or later. 2 days later, everyone arrived at the center of the extreme western desert sea, which was also the most dangerous area. Even the people from the first team had solemn expressions on their faces. It was said that the people from the coalition army would lose some of their men every time they passed this place. It was better to be careful. A certain Jiu from the cook's army did not mind. Anyway, the sky would fall and the big guy would hold it up. She felt that she was simply too wise. If it was just her and Len Kuei, they would have to shed a layer of skin if they wanted to pass through the extreme West Sand Sea. It would be much easier with these freelance martial artists' alliance. The wind and sand blew so hard that people couldn't open their eyes. Suddenly, a huge pincer blue scorpion continuously drilled out from the sand under their feet. The pincer blue scorpion was a level 44 demonic beast, which was equivalent to a human's 3rd layer of spiritual space. Its body was about 3 feet long. 2 huge pincers were nothing. The worst thing was that it raised the poisonous needle at its tail high. Once it was pierced. If they didn't take the antidote within 15 minutes, they would definitely die. The worst part was that they didn't know if their luck was too bad, but they just happened to meet the iron pincer blue scorpion's nest. There was an endless stream of iron pincer blue scorpions crawling out from under the sand. The cultivators of the first team could still barely deal with it, but the cultivators of the second and third teams were in a terrible situation. Screams of pain could be heard continuously. The scene immediately became chaotic. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Several thousand people couldn't even deal with more than 100 scorpions. With such combat strength, how could they deal with the Yen clan? While Yun Chujio was watching coldly from the side, San Jiaoyan and Garlic Nose happened to be right behind her. The 2 of them looked at each other and actually launched spiritual power attacks at Yun Chujio at the same time. Yun Chujio's actual spiritual power was already at the 7th level of the spiritual void tier, and she was about to break through again, so she easily noticed the small movements of the 2 of them. Yun Chujio's figure flashed, and she dodged the 2's attacks like a ghost. She also flashed behind the 2, and one of her kicks landed directly in front of an iron pincer blue scorpion. Of course, the iron pincer blue scorpion would not let go of its prey. In the blink of an eye, the Garlic Nose and San Jiaoyan lost their lives. Len Kuei, who was beside Yun Chujio, also noticed San Jiaoyan and the Garlic Nose's movements. He did not expect that Yun Chujio had already taken care of the 2 before he had the time to make a move. He was shocked. This troublemaker was even faster than him. How was this possible? Yun Chujio did not make a move after taking care of San Jiaoyan and San Jiaoyan. She only found a safe place to stand. Although she had hidden her strength, her actual spiritual power was not as high as the cultivators in the first team. It was better to not cause more trouble. Len Kuei stood beside Yun Chujio and did not make a move. His mission was to protect himself and Yun Chujio's safety. As for others, he was not interested. Yun Chujio muttered in her heart. This was the difference between the disciples of the murderous origin sect and the mixed origin sect. If An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao knew that their spiritual power was no match, they would definitely help. However, these itinerant cultivators each had their own thoughts, so it was better to watch from the sidelines. After the initial panic, the alliance leader of the itinerant cultivator alliance, Zhao Zijing, finally took control of the situation. He asked the cultivators of the first team to block the attack of the iron pincers and blue scorpions, and covered the second and third teams to quickly pass through this area. When everyone finally escaped, the sky was already dark. Everyone sat on the ground and panted heavily. Yun Chuzhou and Leng Kuei quickly buried the pot to cook. When the two of them were busy, they did not expect that someone would complain to Zhao Zijing for them. After dinner, Yun Chuzhou was brought to Zhao Zijing. Leng Kuei obviously could not stand by and watch, so he also followed. As soon as Yun Chuzhou arrived, she knew that this matter wouldn't end well. Not only was Zhao Zijing present, but the leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance was also present, and there were many onlookers. Leng Xiaojiu, someone reported that you secretly harmed Lin Gang and Zhao Chang. What do you have to say? Zhao Zijing said with a gloomy face. Zhao Zijing was a thoughtful person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent so much effort to become the leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance. However, he also knew that everyone was only treating him as a matter of face. They were not convinced by him in their hearts. He felt that after the incident with the iron pincers and blue scorpion, his prestige should have increased. Just as he was about to take another step forward, someone reported that Yun Chuzhou had secretly harmed San Jiaoyan and the garlic nose. He felt that this was a great opportunity to establish his prestige and win over the hearts of the people. Therefore, he prepared to make an attack on Yun Chuzhou. I have nothing to say, because I didn't harm them at all, Yun Chuzhou said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Zhao Zijing snorted coldly, how stubborn. Lu Zhuang, come over and tell me what happened. A bearded man walked out from the crowd and said through gritted teeth, Alliance leader, I saw it with my own eyes. This Leng Xiaojiu kicked Lin Gang and Zhao Chang to the front of the steel pincer blue scorpion. They lost their lives just like that. President, we came here to fight against the nightmare race and for the safety of the immortal essence continent. Leng Xiaojiu killed Lin Gang and Zhao Chang for a personal grudge. It's an unforgivable crime. Please help them. Those who were usually jealous of Yun Chuzhou suddenly began to make a ruckus. Leader, we have also seen it. It was this Leng Xiaojiu who kicked Lin Gang and Zhao Chang to the front of the iron pincer's blue scorpion. She is the murderer. Yes. Leader, you must punish the murderer severely. Otherwise, the souls of the two brothers in heaven will not rest in peace. Yes, leader, you must deal with them impartially. Otherwise, we will be disappointed. Zhao Zijing waited until the crowd's discussion quieted down before he snorted coldly. Leng Xiaojiu, with so many witnesses, what else do you have to say? Yun Chuzhou curled the corners of her lips. I didn't expect so many people to have a problem with their eyes. When they see things, they can even pinch the head and cut the tail. How amazing! Those two people wanted to secretly harm me, but they were too stupid. They used too much strength and didn't kill me. Instead, they threw themselves in front of an iron pincer blue scorpion and lost their lives. What does this have to do with me? Moreover, I'm a trash of the sixth layer of the spiritual profound realm. Even if I wanted to kill them, I couldn't kill them. You, and you, since you said that I killed those two people, can you tell me in detail how a trash like me kicked them? Also, I can swear to the heavens that if I tell a lie, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Do you dare? The bearded man and the rest of the people opened their mouths and didn't say a word. They were guilty, so how could they dare to swear? Zhao Zijing's heart sank when he saw this. He was afraid that what Leng Xiaojiu said was true. He felt embarrassed. Just when he didn't know how to go down the stairs, the bearded man said loudly, Leng Xiaojiu, even if you didn't do what Lin Gang and Zhao Chang did, you didn't use any of the explosive talismans you had when you fought with the iron pincer's blue scorpion. You are too selfish to travel with us. Alliance leader, I request that Leng Xiaojiu and her brother be kicked out of our team. If you don't agree, then I, Lu Zhuang, will leave the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance and return to Mingsha City. Yes. President, I agree with Lu Zhuang. If we don't expel Ling Xiaojiu and the others, we will leave the alliance. And me. And me. Yun Chujiu looked at the people who spoke coldly. Most of them were from the third team, and a small number of them were from the second team. Most of them were caused by the red-eyed disease. Wasn't it just because she got the job of the first team's cook's army? Wasn't it just because she had 2 thick piles of talismans in her hands? This red-eyed criminal really made people laugh. However, it was also true that people were always jealous of people who were at the same level as them. When this person was much higher than them and they could not look up to him, they were not jealous, because they no longer had the courage to be jealous. Leng Kuei snorted coldly. What you guys said is really nice. I didn't see you guys use any talismans or spiritual weapons against the enemy. My sister is only at the 6th layer of the Lingxian realm. What's wrong with keeping talismans to protect her life? Those people were embarrassed by Leng Kuei's words. However, since they had already fallen out with each other, it was impossible for them to give up halfway. Therefore, they thickened their skin and ignored Leng Kuei's words. They continued to make a racket to force Zhao Zijing to kick Yun Chujiu and Leng Kuei out of the team. The people from the first and second teams still didn't say anything. Instead, Feng Zhi came out to plead for mercy. Alliance leader, Leng Xiaojiu kept the talismans to protect her life because her spiritual power is low. This extreme West San Sea is extremely dangerous. If we chase them out, I'm afraid that they will be doomed. Please think twice. Zhao Zijing pondered for a moment, and then said with a troubled look, Manager Feng, the alliance of non-affiliates is not my decision. It depends on everyone's opinion. Everyone, the Leng siblings did not commit any unforgivable mistake. Leng Xiaojia's spiritual power is low, so it's inevitable that she is timid. It makes sense that she did not participate in the battle. Let's forget about this matter. Feng Zhi said to the bearded man and the others. The bearded man snorted coldly, Steward Feng, you arranged the good jobs for the Leng siblings, and now you're speaking up for them. Could it be that you've really accepted their benefits? The people around them also jeered, that's right. So we elected you as the steward because you're honest and honest. I didn't expect you to pull such a trick behind our backs. We apply for the dismissal of him. Right, dismiss him. Well, choose another manager. Since this Feng Zhi is helping Leng Xiaojiu so much, well, expel him together. Feng Zhi never expected that he would be ostracized just because he was pleading for leniency in the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance. Apart from shock, there was also a hint of grief and indignation on his face. Feng Zhi looked at Zhao Zijing, hoping that he would say something fair. However, he didn't expect Zhao Zijing to remain silent. Zhao Zijing had long been dissatisfied with Feng Zhi, who always did things by the book. Moreover, Feng Zhi was in charge of the public finances of the alliance, so Zhao Zijing, the alliance leader, couldn't take any advantage. Therefore, Zhao Zijing had long wanted to find a reason to kick Feng Zhi out. Now was a great opportunity, so he naturally wouldn't let it go. Since Zhao Zijing did not speak, the bearded man and the others became even more noisy. Moreover, some of the people in the first team were eyeing Feng Zhi's position covetously. They also added fuel to the fire. For a moment, they were all shouting to expel Feng Zhi. It was even louder than Yun Chujia's voice. Feng Zhi's body was slightly trembling. Good. I, Feng Zhi, have always been conscientious and conscientious. I never had the slightest bit of selfishness. I did not expect to end up like this. Since you insist on this, I have nothing to say. You can choose one person. After I hand over the spirit stones to him, I will take the initiative to leave. There is no need for you to expel me. Hearing Feng Zhi's words, Zhao Zijing sighed. Steward Feng, after you have finished handing over the spirit stones, there is no need for you to leave the Loose Cultivator Alliance. I will naturally protect you. Although Feng Zhi was honest, it did not mean that he was a fool. He smiled bitterly. There is no need. I still won't be an eyesore. Regarding Feng Zhi's matter, only a few people showed a pained expression. Most of them were numb, while a few others showed a happy expression. After Feng Zhi handed over the spirit stones, he left the team with a sorrowful expression. Yun Chujiu looked at Zhao Zijing with a faint smile and said, Alliance leader Zhao, since even manager Feng has been expelled, I believe that we siblings will not be able to stay. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave. However, if you have anything to ask of us, think about what you've done today. Don't be so thick-skinned as to beg us. The bearded man and the others laughed loudly. Is this little girl crazy? We beg her. Even if we beg her, she'll be begging us on her knees. This extreme western desert sees demonic beasts run amok. Perhaps they'll lose their lives as soon as they leave the team. That's right. She really overestimates herself. Even if we are really in danger, can she, a trash of the 6th layer of the spiritual profound realm, help us? Hurry up and leave. Hurry up and leave. Don't talk crazy here. If it weren't for Chief Zhao's benevolence, I would have killed all of you long ago. After Yun Chujiu and Len Kuei walked for a distance, they saw the dazed Feng Zhi. Uncle Feng. Yun Chujiu jogged to catch up with Feng Zhi. Seeing that it was them, Feng Zhi nodded as a greeting. Uncle Feng, I'm really sorry. If it weren't for us brother and sister, you wouldn't have been chased out. Yun Chujiu said apologetically. Feng Zhi shook his head. I'm in charge of the spirit stones in the Loose Cultivator Alliance. There are people who have long disliked me. Even if it wasn't for you guys, they would have found a reason to chase me out sooner or later. It's because I thought it was too simple. I thought that since these people had come to fight against the Yen clan, they wouldn't have any selfish motives under the common enemy. I didn't expect that even at this time, some people still had their own plans. Yun Chujiu curled the corners of her lips. Uncle Feng's thoughts are very thorough. The human heart is the most difficult thing to predict, especially since the Loose Cultivator Alliance was originally formed by piecing it together. Everyone has their own little Jiujiu, so it's inevitable that there will be some dirty matters. However, it's just right for us to separate from them. Don't worry, with me around, we will definitely be able to safely arrive at the vast desert. Feng Zhi nodded, but he smiled bitterly in his heart. This little girl's tone wasn't small. How could a little girl at the 6th level of the Lingxian realm protect us? Forget it. Although his spiritual power wasn't particularly high, he was still stronger than the two of them. When there was danger, he would just take care of them. Little Jiu, well, follow behind the Loose Cultivator Alliance. This way, if we're attacked by demonic beasts, we'll have less trouble because they're in front, Feng Zhi said after thinking for a moment. Uncle Feng, I think it's better for us to walk in front. Those people in the alliance are all black-hearted. If we follow behind them, they might deliberately drive the demonic beasts to our side, Yun Chujiu said with a cold smile. Is it necessary? Feng Zhi said with some hesitation. Yun Chujiu's eyes flickered with coldness. Uncle Feng, you're too kind. They were able to make us come out in full force just for the sake of their face. If we survive to the desert, they will be worried that we will destroy their image in front of the Alliance army. Moreover, Uncle, you have always been in charge of the spirit stones of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance. If some people want to do something to the accounts, they will definitely kill you to silence you. They won't attack openly due to their pride, but with the help of the demonic beasts, it's simply flawless. Therefore, it's better for us to walk in front of them. Feng Zhi looked at Yun Chujio with a face full of shock. He had always thought that she was just a naive and romantic little girl. He didn't expect her mind to be so clear. Yes, he was still thinking too simply. How could those people from the Loose Cultivator Alliance just expel them? They would definitely use the demonic beasts to kill them. The more Feng Zhi thought about it, the more he felt that what Yun Chujio said made sense. Fine beads of sweat started to drip out from his forehead, he sighed. The human heart is even scarier than the demonic beasts. Alright, let's walk in front of them. I would rather be eaten by the demonic beasts than be killed by my original companions. Leng Kuei did not say anything at the side. His heart felt like it was turning upside down. Even though he was a disciple of the Murderous Origin sect, everything had been smooth sailing for him. Moreover, the disciples of the Murderous Origin sect had always flattered him. He did not know that people's hearts were so complicated. At this moment, Leng Kuei seemed to have some understanding and relief towards Yun Chujio's evil schemes. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. When the people of the Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance saw that Yun Chujio and the other two had actually walked in front of them, all of them sneered. These three people were really brainless. If they had followed behind the Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance, they would have suffered less. After all, they could eliminate most of the demonic beasts in front and even scare them away. However, now that they were walking in front, they were just waiting to be fed to the demonic beasts. Zhao Zijing's eyes flickered a few times. He originally wanted to find an opportunity to get rid of these three people, but he didn't expect that they would seek their own death and walk in front of the Loose Cultivator Alliance. That would save them a lot of trouble. Yun Chujio and the other two walked for a while and found a sand dune. The three of them decided to camp here at night. Brother, Uncle Feng, your spiritual power is higher than mine, so I'll leave the night shift to you. Im Young. If I don't sleep well, it will affect my growth, He Xinjiu said with a smile. Feng Zhi, Leng Kuei, although the lifespan of cultivators on the Immortal Essence continent was at least a few hundred years, at most a few thousand years, Yun Chujio was a real little girl on the Immortal Essence continent. However, it was a bit shameless to say that it would affect their growth. The corners of Feng Zhi and Leng Kuei's eyes twitched, but they didn't say anything. They didn't want a little girl like her to be on night shift. They thought that the night wouldn't be peaceful. They didn't expect nothing to happen. A certain Jiu stretched her body and walked out of the universal tent when the sky was bright. Uncle Feng, brother, come and have breakfast. A certain Jiu took out a small square table and placed a sumptuous breakfast on it. Feng Zhi was stunned. These things were much better than what they usually ate. It was probably bought by the little girl herself. As for why she hadn't taken it out before, it was probably because she was afraid of arousing the envy of others. How could he know that a certain Jiu actually felt that since there was free food from the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance, why would she waste her own things? After the three of them finished their breakfast, they continued to walk forward. At noon, it was the hottest time in the extreme West Desert Sea. Feng Zhi and Leng Kuei kept drinking water to wipe their sweat. A certain Jiu was the only one jumping around in front, feeling very uncomfortable. Feng Zhi clicked his tongue in wonder. This little girl's physique was really special. She was actually so resistant to heat. While Yun Chujio was jumping around happily, she noticed several pairs of deep blue eyes flickering with a cold light in the distance, and they were constantly approaching. Yun Chujio's heart jumped. It must be the 43rd level Sand Sea Blood Wolf. The Sand Sea Blood Wolf was different from other demon wolves. They didn't like to move at night. Instead, they liked to hunt at noon when it was the hottest time. This was because the sun was exploding. The prey's body lacked water and their movements were slow. It was the weakest time for them to hunt successfully. Feng Zhi also noticed these sand sea blood wolves. His heart immediately sank. It's the sand sea blood wolves. And there are at least dozens of them in this group. Let's run quickly. Uncle Feng, where can we run to? If we run to the left and right, how can we escape these sand sea blood wolves? If we turn around and run, those people from the Loose Cultivator Alliance will definitely say that we don't have good intentions. At that time, they will directly kill us. Although Yun Chuzhou said that there was no way out, the expression on her face was not the same at all. Instead, it was as if she was talking about what to eat today. Feng Zhi was anxious and did not pay attention to this. He followed Yun Chuzhiu's words and said, "You are right. What should we do? Should we just wait for death here?" Yun Chuzhiu spread her hands. "That's all we can do. Anyway, we'll die sooner or later. Why are we wasting our energy running?" As he spoke, he sat on the ground and jumped up from the burning sand. "Oh my God, it's burning me to death." Leng Kuei and Feng Zhi were speechless. At this time, this guy was still fooling around. However, what she said made sense. Since they couldn't escape anyway, they might as well stay still and fight for a chance of survival. While the two of them were thinking, they saw Yun Chuzhou take out a large piece of white cloth from her storage ring. Then, she made 8 flags out of the white cloth and placed them around the 3 of them. It was like a formation. Leng Kuei and Feng Zhi were baffled. What was wrong with this little girl? When the wolf pack comes later, don't talk. Leave it to me. Before Leng Kuei and Feng Zhi could ask further, the wolf pack had already arrived in front of the 3 of them. Dozens of pairs of deep blue eyes stared at Yun Chuzhou and the other 2. Saliva dripped from the corners of their mouths. However, there was hesitation in their eyes. What kind of formation was this? Normally, humans would turn around and run when they saw them. Why didn't these 3 humans run? Was this formation very powerful? Were they waiting for them to fall into their trap? Feng Zhi and Leng Kuei's palms were sweaty. However, when they remembered what Yun Chuzhou said just now, they just stared at the wolf pack with vigilance and didn't say anything. Yun Chuzhou smiled and waved at the largest sand sea blood wolf. "Little dog, come, come." Feng Zhi stumbled and almost sat on the ground. This little girl couldn't tell if she was a wolf or a dog, right? How was she a dog? Besides, are you stupid? Why did you let her come? Did she eat you? Leng Kuei knew that Yun Chuzhou was full of bad ideas, but he didn't understand what was in Yun Chuzhou's gourd. The 2 of them were confused, but the Wolf King was even more confused. Recently, humans often passed by its territory, but it had never encountered such a situation. This little girl must be planning something bad. She must have set a trap, and once it walked over, it would suffer. It was not a stupid wolf, it would not be fooled. Therefore, the Wolf King only roared a few times, but did not move half a step forward. When the other sand sea blood wolves saw that their leader did not dare to act rashly, they naturally did not dare to move either. For a moment, both sides were in a stalemate. Feng Zhi and Leng Kuei felt that their brains were not enough. Were these sand sea blood wolves idiots? The little girl only said a few words with a smile, but they actually did not dare to move. How was this possible? "Little dog, I didn't expect you to be so smart. You are much smarter than the iron pincer blue scorpions we met before." But that's also true. Those scorpions are just insects, how can they compare to your wolf clan? Yun Chuzhou clicked her tongue and said in surprise. The Wolf King felt a sense of pride when it heard Yun Chuzhou say this. That was because it was the Wolf King that had experienced hundreds of battles. How could those lousy scorpions compare? Even though those broken scorpions were of a higher level than them, they did not dare to provoke them. It saw clearly what this little girl was doing. Wasn't this a trap commonly used by humans? Did she really think that it was a stupid wolf? Humph. She really looked down on wolves. Alright, since you guys did not fall for it, then I have nothing to say. You guys can leave. The three of us will leave this place as well. We will pretend that we have never met before. Yun Chujio waved her hand casually. She indicated that they could leave. Feng Ji and Leng Kuei's throats were in their throats. They thought to themselves, even though the wolf pack had been tricked temporarily, would they really give up on the meat that was right in front of them? A trace of treachery flashed across the Wolf King's eyes. It howled a few times and the wolf pack left under its lead. Just as Feng Ji and Leng Kuei were about to escape, they were stopped by Yun Chujio with her eyes. Then, she sighed and said, "Sigh, I haven't eaten wolf meat for a long time. I thought I could get a few to try, but I didn't expect these Sand Sea blood wolves to be so smart. What a pity." Feng Ji and Leng Kuei were shocked to find that after Yun Chujio said that, the wolves suddenly sped up their escape and soon disappeared. The two of them felt that their worldview had been greatly impacted. The 8 flags made of broken white cloth scared the wolf pack away. How was this possible? Were those Sand Sea blood wolves idiots? Yun Chujio put the 8 flags into her storage ring and said in a low voice, "What are you still standing there for? Why aren't you running?" Feng Ji and Leng Kuei finally reacted and ran with Yun Chujio. The two of them originally thought that Yun Chujio would not be able to keep up with their speed, but they did not expect that Yun Chujio had been following behind them neither slowly nor slowly. Even if they had used all their strength, Yun Chujio had still been following behind them, and she did not look like she was struggling at all. How was this possible? She was only at the 6th level of the Ling Xian realm. How could her movement technique be so fast? The three of them ran for a distance before slowing down. Feng Ji asked in puzzlement, "Little girl, were the 8 flags you planted just now really just ordinary white cloth? Did you do anything to them?" Yun Chujio smiled and took out a flag for him to look at. Feng Ji looked left and right but didn't see anything strange. He had to believe this fact. This was the most ordinary white cloth. Yun Chujio saw Feng Ji's puzzled face. She smiled and said, "The Sand Sea blood wolves are the most suspicious. When they see us not running but letting them hunt us, they will definitely think that we have set a trap. Moreover, I also mentioned the iron pincer blue scorpion. The Wolf King will think that this is a trap." Leng Kuei said from the side, "Then what you said about roasting the wolf meat later is to make the Wolf King believe that this is a trap. Well, brother, you're not too stupid. Keep working hard." Hei Shinjo said with a smile. Leng Kuei glared at her. He had thought that this little girl was not so annoying anymore, but now that he looked at her, she was still very annoying. The wolf pack that was fooled by the 8-sided white cloth flag was afraid that Yun Chujio would do something funny again. They ran all the way and happened to come face to face with the Loose Cultivator Alliance. The unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance had a large number of people, so they were naturally not afraid of the dozens of Sand Sea blood wolves. After a round of fighting, the wolf pack was defeated and fled. The bearded man said gloatingly, "These Sand Sea blood wolves came from the front. Ling Xiaojiu and the other 2 must have been eaten by these Sand Sea blood wolves. They really deserve it." The others also echoed. They were just saying that this was retribution and deserved it. A trace of pride flashed across Zhao Zijing's eyes. It was just as well that these 3 people had died. This way, he was not afraid that they would spout nonsense in front of the allied army. The reason why he had come to fight against the Nightmare Clan was to gain a good impression in front of so many mighty figures. He might even be able to join a super sect like the Primordial Killing Sect or the Primordial Chaos Sect. If he was lucky, he might even be able to become an elder. An elder of a super sect was much better than being an itinerant cultivator. Even if they could not join a super sect and were valued by a super family, being a guest elder was not bad. Zhao Zijing looked at the map. They had already walked more than half of the way. In another 10 days or so, they would reach the vast desert. When that time came, it would be time for him to show off his skills. Zhao Zijing suppressed the excitement in his heart and continued to lead the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance forward. For 2 consecutive days, the road was very peaceful. Everyone's mood was extremely relaxed. The most dangerous area had already passed. Even if they encountered demonic beasts again, they would not pose any threat to them. At this moment, a series of miserable cries rang out. Everyone was horrified to discover that many black vines had drilled out from the sand beneath their feet. These vines had sharp thorns on them. After piercing through a person's skin, the spiritual energy in the body would quickly drain away. However, these vines were very hard, and even spiritual energy couldn't cut them off easily. Very quickly, more than half of the people were trapped by the vines. Only the first group of cultivators were in a slightly better condition. Firstly, they were nimble and wouldn't be easily entangled by the vines. Secondly, even if they were entangled, they could also break free faster. Just when everyone was in a terrible situation, a large black thing flew over from the distance. Sand Sea Poisonous Bees. It's the Sand Sea Poisonous Bees. Quickly put up the spiritual energy barrier. A cultivator shouted. Although the extreme West Sand Sea forbade flying, the Sand Sea Poisonous Bees could fly about 10 feet above the ground. Moreover, they were extremely poisonous. Once they were stung by them, the consequences would be worrisome. The members of the Loose Cultivator Alliance could be said to have suffered from a broken house and continuous rain. Originally, the black vines had already caused them to be in a terrible state. Unexpectedly, now there was actually a group of Sand Sea Poisonous Bees. This was simply no way to survive. Unexpectedly, this wasn't the worst. Tens of thousands of red ants crawled out from the ground. They crawled along the black vines onto everyone's bodies. The formic acid secreted by them instantly numbed everyone's entire body. For a moment, there were miserable howls. They felt that they were extremely unlucky. The black vines, Sand Sea Poisonous Bees, and these black ants all had their own territories. How could they appear at the same time? Just as everyone was in a mess, they heard someone chuckle. TSK, brother, look at these people. They are really interesting. Are they stupid? Why are they just standing there and letting the poisonous bees sting them? The people from the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance saw that the person who spoke was a beautiful little girl. It was that Leng Xiaojiu. She didn't die. They were shocked and couldn't help but fly into a rage. Interesting. Interesting my ass. Do they want to stand there like idiots? They were clearly bound by the vines, all right. They were clearly paralyzed by the formic acid, all right. The bearded man cursed, stupid girl, you're courting death. You'll be trapped in a while too. Let's see if you still have the mood to watch a joke. Yun Chujiu hugged her shoulders and said with a smile, I'm sorry. These vines, poisonous bees, and red ants don't seem to be interested in me. Maybe it's because I'm too good looking that they don't have the heart to eat me. Just like the Sand Sea blood wolves didn't eat me. Being good looking is also an advantage. Don't you think it's infuriating? Only then did the crowd realize that Leng Xiaojiu was very close to them. However, the black vines, poisonous bees, and red ants didn't attack her. Even Ling Kuei and Feng Ji, who were beside her, were safe and sound. At this moment, He Xinjiu took out a handful of melon seeds from her storage ring. While munching on the melon seeds, she said, "TSK, did you do something wicked, so God punished you?" Fortunately, the three of us left the unaffiliated cultivator alliance. Otherwise, we would have suffered too. Everyone was so angry that they were twitching. What did they mean by doing something immoral? Some people were quick-witted and felt that Yun Chujio probably had some kind of defensive spirit tool on her, so these vines, poisonous bees, and red ants would not attack her. Therefore, they all shouted, "Little girl, come and save me. I won't let you help me for nothing." "That's right, little girl. As long as you save me, I'll give you spirit stones. As long as you give me a price, it'll be fine. Little girl, I expelled you from the Loose Cultivator Alliance because Lu Zhuang instigated it. I didn't say anything at that time. Come and help me, I'll definitely thank you heavily." After Yun Chujio finished eating the melon seeds in her hand, she grabbed another handful and said with a grin, "I'm sorry, I can't do anything either. Besides, I'm not a person who's greedy for money. On account of the fact that we've been together for a period of time, I'll convey your wish to resist the Nightmare Clan to the Allied army when we arrive at the 10,000 miles tall Gobi Desert. You can all go in peace." Seeing that Yun Chujio was unmoved, everyone placed the breakthrough point on Feng Ji. "Steward Feng, you're the kindest. Hurry up and save us. If we delay any longer, we'll lose our lives." "That's right, old Feng. We have a good relationship. Please save us for the sake of our past friendship." He Xinjiu had already given Feng Ji some thought work. She had said that if he was not lucky, he would die without a burial place, and if he really died, Zhao Zijing would tell the people of the Alliance army that he had embezzled the Alliance's spiritual stones. He had committed suicide because he was afraid of the consequences. Feng Ji had been brainwashed by Yun Chujio all day long. Now, whenever he saw the people of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance, he would gnash his teeth in hatred. Why would he save them? Feng Ji snorted coldly. "Friendship? When you banished me, you didn't say anything about friendship. Besides, these vines and poisonous insects are not our spiritual pets and spiritual plants. We can't save you either. You should save yourselves." Seeing that Yun Chujio and the other two had no intention of saving them, the people of the Loose Cultivator Alliance turned hostile. They started to curse. However, they soon found that the more they cursed, the more the red ants liked them. They were bitten and screamed in pain. Especially that bearded man. He was directly stung by a desert poisonous bee and died. The crowd finally came to a conclusion in horror. Even if these vines, wasps, and red ants weren't Ling Xiaojiu's spiritual pets, they were probably related to her, otherwise, they wouldn't have attacked people selectively. How was this possible? However, now was obviously not the time to find out the reason. Survival was the most important thing. Zhao Zijing said loudly, "Ling Xiaojiu, although we have some misunderstandings with you, we are all knowledgeable people who are fighting against the nightmare race. Aren't you afraid of being blamed by the people in the world for doing this?" President Zhao, you can't just say that. How can a good-for-nothing like me command these little things? Besides, since President Zhao is so righteous, just kill yourself. Maybe these little things will be full after eating you and won't eat anyone else. As the president of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance, don't you have the spirit of sacrifice? He Xinjiu said with a smile, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. You want to play the moral kidnapping game with me? I'll kill you. Zhao Zijing felt like he was about to be roasted. He said in a threatening tone, "HMPH. You're trying to twist the truth. Why would these poisonous creatures retreat just because I committed suicide? If they really retreat just because I committed suicide, why would I, Zhao, be stingy with my life?" Humph. Yun Chujiu curled her lips. Isn't that simple? Why don't you just ask these little things? Come, let me ask you. If President Zhao commits suicide, will you retreat just like that? Everyone was shocked to find that whether it was the sand sea poisonous bees or the red ants, after hearing Yun Chujiu's words, they made buzzing and rustling sounds, obviously echoing her words. President Zhao, did you hear that? Haven't you always claimed to be the most selfless and self-sacrificing person? Now that I'm giving you a chance to sacrifice yourself for justice, you should commit suicide. Yun Chujiu said with a cold smile. Compared to those truly evil people, hypocrites like Zhao Zijing were even more detestable. They usually looked like righteous gentlemen, but in fact, their thoughts were the dirtiest, and they were even more sinister and ruthless when it came to harming others. How could Zhao Zijing bear to commit suicide? His face flushed red, and then he roared, "Everyone, it's very obvious now. These poisonous creatures were raised by this Ling Xiaojiu. Let's not hope that she can save us, let's save ourselves." Hearing his words, Yun Chujiu laughed crisply. Alliance Chief Zhao's brain isn't that good, right? Not to mention that I'm a trash at the 6th level of the Ling Xian realm. Even the mighty figures of the Han Yuan sect and the Shi Yuan sect wouldn't be able to raise so many spiritual pets, right? In fact, this matter was very simple. Originally, everyone wanted to go to the front line to participate in the war, which was a great thing. However, some people wanted to gain benefits inside, and secretly did dirty things, which Tian Dao couldn't stand. Therefore, they sent these little things to warn you. Only Zhao Zijing, the main culprit, committed suicide. The crisis will naturally be resolved. Believe it or not, it's up to you. After Yun Chujiu finished speaking, she took out a small pony from her storage ring and sat on it with a smile as she continued to munch on melon seeds. Zhao Zijing refuted a few words in exasperation. It was nothing more than saying that Yun Chujiu was spouting nonsense and that no one should believe her words. However, in order to survive, no one would listen to his explanation. Some people said, Alliance leader Zhao, Ling Xiaojiu is right. Logically speaking, these poisonous creatures shouldn't be gathered together. It's obviously abnormal now. Perhaps it's the punishment of Tian Dao. You've always been kind-hearted. Just kill yourself for us. Yes, Alliance leader Zhao, sacrificing one of you to save all of us, just kill yourself. Yes, we all agree. Alliance leader Zhao, just die in peace. We will definitely remember your great kindness. Zhao Zi's face was livid with anger. He had selectively forgotten how he had used public opinion to force Feng Zhi and Yun Chujiu. He tried his best to break free from the vines on his body. He had already thought about it. As long as he could successfully break free, he would take Yun Chujiu hostage. At that time, these people would change their faces. Unfortunately, those black vines were especially fond of him. Even if he cut off a few of them, there was still a continuous stream of black vines winding around him. Moreover, there were countless red ants crawling on his body. Yun Chujiu took out a spirit fruit and took 2 bites, then, she said, I believe that I don't need to say anything more. You guys have seen the true face of this Zhao Zijing, right? It's a waste of food for such a person to live. It's better to die. Following Yun Chujiu's words, Zhao Zijing let out a scream. His body was covered with desert poisonous bees, and he died on the spot. At this moment, the people of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance were finally certain that even if these poisonous creatures were not raised by this Ling Xiaojiu, they were definitely related to her. Their little lives were now in her hands. If they wanted to live, they could only beg her to let them go. Ling Xiaojiu, no, Miss Xiaojiu, we were all deceived by that Zhao Zijing and Lu Zhuang in the past. Now, the culprit is already dead. Hurry up and let us go. Yes, Miss Xiaojiu, we have no enmity with each other. Why do you have to kill us all? As long as you let us go, I will agree to any condition you ask. After eating the spirit fruit, Yun Chujiu threw the core behind her and stood up. Let you go. And then let you kill us with enmity? Do you think I am such a stupid person? Don't talk to me about logic. I've never studied before, so I can't understand. I've told you before, when you're in trouble, don't be thick-skinned and beg me. What did you say back then? Now you regret it. It's too late. Feng Zhi saw that Zhao Zijing was dead, so he wanted to talk to these people, but when he heard Yun Chujiu's words, he immediately swallowed his words. Yes, these people were saying nice things now, so maybe they really let them go, they would turn hostile and kill the three of them mercilessly. Miss Little Jiu, no, Great Aunt Little Jiu, we were wrong. We look down on others. Just treat us like farts. Great Aunt Little Jiu, no, Great Aunt Little Jiu, I beg you. I have a mother and children. If you kill me, they won't be able to live. That's right, Great Aunt Little Ninth, as long as you let us go, we'll be at your disposal in the future. Yun Chujiu sighed, sigh. Alright, I'm the most soft-hearted person. After hearing what you guys said, I really can't bear to hear it. Although these little things aren't raised by me, I'm so good-looking. I should be able to help you guys talk some sense into them. When the people from the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance heard this, they almost vomited blood. Are you soft-hearted? You only agreed to let them go when their lips were almost worn out. If you are soft-hearted, there will be no evil people in this world. Some people secretly made up their minds. No matter what, they had to get out of this first. When they found an opportunity, they would definitely tear this Ling Xiaojiu and the other two people into pieces. At this moment, Yun Chujiu said with a bright smile, however, I'm a little narrow-minded. If I let you go just like that, what if you turn against me and refuse to acknowledge me? How about this? Each of you will give me 100,000 spirit stones as a thank you fee. It's not that I'm greedy, but it's to teach you a lesson so that you won't cause harm to others in the future. Then, make a poison vow that you will never harm me, my brother, Uncle Feng, and even our family and friends. You are not allowed to have any evil intentions. If you break the vow, you will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Although everyone was fuming with anger, in order to survive, they still agreed. However, some people thought that they could make up the numbers when they made the vow, so they only opened their mouths and didn't make a sound. They thought that they could deceive the world, but they didn't expect that all the people who made up the numbers were poisoned to death by the desert wasps. Those who survived didn't dare to resist anymore. This Ling Xiaojiu wasn't human at all. She was a devil. After everyone had taken the oath, Yun Chujiu said with a troubled expression, sigh, the former chief Zhao Zijing is dead. This so-called country cannot be without a ruler for a day. There are so many of us, how can we do it without a leader? However, the choice of the chief is a little difficult. Do you have any good suggestions? Everyone really wanted to strangle this guy. They were not fools, so they naturally understood what Yun Chujiu meant by asking this question, therefore, everyone quickly said sensibly, Miss Xiaojiu, you are resourceful and kind-hearted. You are the best candidate for the alliance leader. Yes, Miss Xiaojiu. Other than you, no one else can be qualified for the position of the alliance leader. Yes, we all agree to elect you as the leader of our alliance. Hei Xinjiu waved her hand pretentiously and sighed again. Sigh. It's really hard to decline such a kind offer. Alright, I'll reluctantly become the leader of the alliance. However, my request is a little high. Although we are unaffiliated cultivators, we can't be undisciplined like a plate of loose sand. If we do that, not only will we be looked down upon by the coalition army at the front line, but we will also lose our lives if we make a mistake. The loss outweighs the gain. Therefore, this alliance leader has made a few rules for you. The first rule is that you must abide by your words and actions. Regardless of whether what this alliance leader says is right or not, you must strictly carry it out. The second rule is that you are not allowed to act on your own. The third rule, the people from the unaffiliated cultivator alliance, they only wanted to give Hei Xinjiu one sentence: acting cool will get you struck by lightning. And you still can't refuse her kindness. And it was hard to force her. Why did it look like you were prepared? Otherwise, why would there be such a rule? They must have thought of it long ago. Leng Kuei suddenly had an idea. Could it be that Yun Chuzhou wanted to join the loose cultivator alliance because of the alliance leader? Leng Kuei felt that it was impossible. This fellow was only at the 6th level of the Lingxian realm, how could he have such confidence? The reason why he became the alliance leader was merely a coincidence. That's right, Leng Kuei attributed all of this to a coincidence. Because, up until now, he and Feng Ji still didn't understand what was going on. Those black vines were originally attacking them, but Yun Chuzhou only asked them to close their eyes. After a while, those vines retreated. Then, this bad news was brought up. She wanted to leave for a while, but when she returned, she insisted on going back. She said that she wanted to watch the show. In the end, they saw the members of the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance being besieged. Leng Kuei felt that these black vines, red ants, and sand sea poisonous bees must be related to Yun Chuzhou, but he couldn't figure out how she did it. Leng Kuei shook his head. Although he still did not like Yun Chuzhou's personality, he had to admit that this little girl had many abilities that he did not know. In the next few days, Yun Chuzhou focused on training these freelance martial artists to be strict and disciplined. If they disobeyed orders, they would be punished according to the rules of the alliance and would not be lenient. When they were about to leave the extreme West Sand Sea, these freelance martial artists had already taken Hei Xinjiu's words as an imperial edict. It was not that they approved of Yun Chuzhou, but that this guy was really evil. If she disobeyed her orders, she would be punished. Hei Xinjiu took out 2 masks, put one on herself, and handed one to Leng Kuei. What do you mean? What are you trying to do this time? Leng Kuei had an ominous feeling in his heart. Yun Chuzhou lowered her voice and said, I don't want to go to the Allied army and see other people's expressions. We are so free and easy to build our own mountain. We will reveal our identities after we have made a few meritorious deeds. When that time comes, we will shock their jaws. Nonsense. Besides, I didn't change my name. They knew it was me the moment they heard it. And this Leng Xiaojiu of yours, they knew it was you the moment they guessed it. Leng Kuei felt that although this little girl was full of evil intentions, she was really a useless name-maker. She didn't even know how to use a pseudonym. She directly said his name. She had created a Leng Xiaojiu of her own. This was no different from directly telling others. What was the difference between their identities? Isn't that simple? I'll change your name. You don't have to be called Leng Kuei anymore, you can be called Leng De Tu instead. The useless naming felt that his name was pretty good. After all, when Kuei was taken apart, it would be De Tu. Leng Kuei was so angry that he was twitching. Leng De Tu. He was the personal disciple of the sect master of the Murder Essence sect. How could he call himself Leng De Tu, such a lame name? Even if it was a fake name, he couldn't do it. Not even if he was beaten to death. Senior brother Leng, I think this name is pretty good. This way, no one will doubt your identity. Besides, the vast desert couldn't use talismans, so they didn't know that we were here. They wouldn't think that it was us. Senior brother Leng, you disobeyed orders this time. If you don't do something earth-shattering, Master Xiahou will definitely punish you. Moreover, you are the #1 person among the younger generation of the murderous origin sect. Don't you want to prove your strength? If you go to the allied army, with so many old fellows, will you still be able to show off? Under He Xinjia's boisterous words, the miserable Leng Kuei vaguely agreed to the name of Leng Dadi. By the time Leng Kuei wanted to go back on his words, it was already too late. He Xinjiu had already threatened all the people in the Loose Cultivator Alliance to erase the name of Leng Kuei from their minds and completely replace it with Leng Dadi. Leng Dadi, who had just come out of the oven, had no choice but to recognize this name. After all, he was wearing a mask, so the people of the Alliance wouldn't be able to recognize him. Finally, on this day, the Loose Cultivator Alliance left the extreme West Desert Sea and arrived at the vast desert. The entrance of the vast desert was guarded by the people of the Alliance. When they saw the banners fluttering in the distance, thousands of people lined up in a line. They were even more disciplined than the armies of the secular world. Which faction was this? That was not right. The Shi Yuan sect, the Hun Yuan sect, and all the big aristocratic families had already sent people over. Moreover, they had sent thousands of people at once. Even small sects did not have the strength to do so. At the front of the group was a woman wearing a silver mask. She wore a red dress and looked like she was on fire against the wind. Lai Yan was wearing a silver mask. Cough cough, her spiritual power was a little low. Was she at the 6th level of the Lingxian realm? With such a low spiritual power, she couldn't be the leader of this faction, right? Just as the disciples on duty were puzzled. Someone from the group cupped his fists and said, "We are the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance of the Immortal Essence Continent. This is our leader Ling Xiaojiu. We are here to help the Alliance." The disciples on duty of the Alliance suddenly realized that these people were all unaffiliated cultivators. No wonder there were so many of them. However, weren't itinerant cultivators always free and undisciplined? Why were the people of the Alliance of Itinerant Cultivators even more disciplined than their Alliance army? However, their Alliance leader looked very young, and his spiritual power was so low. Were they playing around? Although the disciples on duty muttered in their hearts, they still politely cupped their hands toward Yun Chuzhou and the person who spoke. Then, they said, "We will send someone to pass the message right away. Please wait a moment." As the vast desert forbade flying and could not use talismans, the method of transmitting messages was very primitive, which was to rely on human strength or spirit beasts. However, fortunately, the speed of the cultivators was not slow. In less than an hour, the disciple on duty who went to deliver the message came back, and he also brought an old acquaintance of Yun Chuzhou, Mountain Master Zhuo of the Primordial Chaos sect. The reason why the Allied army sent Mountain Master Zhuo over was that although the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance was a newly emerged organization, it was still considered a medium-sized force. The Allied army still had to give some face to it, therefore, they sent Mountain Master Zhuo, who had a high status, to personally welcome him. When Mountain Master Zhuo saw the leader of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance dressed in red, he was stunned. The leader of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance was actually a little girl. Only at the 6th level of the Ling Xian realm. Mountain Master Zhuo thought of the name of the leader again. Leng Xiaojiu. Could it be Yun Chujiu, that troublemaker? Mountain Master Zhua shook his head when he thought of this. This should be just a coincidence. Not to mention that the troublemaker was still in the primordial chaos sect. Even if she really sneaked out, it was impossible for her to become the leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance. Besides, although this Leng Xiaojia's spiritual power was low, her entire person was fierce and fierce, like a sharp sword. Her temperament was completely different from that of the troublemaker. He must have been thinking too much. However, which of the unaffiliated cultivators behind her did not have higher spiritual power than this little girl? Why would the unaffiliated cultivator alliance choose such a little girl to be the alliance master? Although several thoughts flashed through Mountain Master Zhua's mind, he did not show it on his face at all. He politely cupped his hands towards Yun Chujiu and said, "Alliance Master Leng, it's a pleasure to meet you. Alliance Master Yen of the Alliance Army has ordered me to come and welcome everyone. Please come in." Yun Chujiu was very proud in her heart. It was better for her to establish her own mountain. Otherwise, how could she receive such good treatment? This fellow changed his fake voice and exchanged a few words of courtesy before following Mountain Master Zhua inside. When Mountain Master Zhua heard that Yun Chujia's voice was completely different from Yun Chujia's, he felt that he was thinking too much. It made sense. Although that little girl had a lot of bad intentions, it was impossible for her to subdue so many unaffiliated cultivators. Moreover, the spiritual power of these unaffiliated cultivators was much higher than hers. Alliance leader Leng is truly a young hero. To become the alliance leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance at such a young age, it is truly admirable. Mountain Master Zhua said without batting an eyelid. "Senior Zhua, you flatter me." This junior only saved the former alliance leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance by chance. When the former alliance leader passed the position of alliance leader to this junior on his deathbed, this junior could only thicken his skin and take over. Yun Chujiu said courteously. When those people from the unaffiliated cultivator alliance heard Yun Chujiu's words, the corners of their eyes twitched. "Are you sure you saved the former alliance leader? That Zhao Zijing was clearly killed because of you, right? Pass it to you. You were clearly the one who shamelessly snatched the position of alliance leader, all right? However, being thick-skinned was right. You were really shameless." How could Mountain Master Zhua know the twists and turns in this matter? Only then did his doubts disappear. He had said it before, how could the loose cultivator alliance allow a little girl to be the alliance leader for no reason? It turned out to be a coincidence. As they were moving forward, Mountain Master Zhua occasionally caught a glimpse of the loose cultivator alliance's troops. They were all in unison and had a powerful aura. In his heart, he was very impressed with the short-lived former alliance leader. To be able to train these unaffiliated soldiers to such a state, that former alliance leader was truly a talent in leading troops in battle. Unfortunately, he had already passed away and had no chance to meet him. Very quickly, Yun Chujiu and the others arrived at the camp of the Alliance Army. The people of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance naturally could not follow them to meet the leader of the Alliance Army. Yun Chujiu only brought Leng Kuei and Feng Ji and followed Mountain Master Zhua to the Alliance Army's meeting tent. Mountain Master Zhua naturally wanted to ask about the identities of Leng Kuei and Feng Ji out of courtesy. He Xinjiu said with a faint smile, "This is the deputy alliance leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance, Leng Datu. This is the money manager of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance, Feng Ji." The corner of Mountain Master Zhua's eyes twitched. Leng Datu. The name of this deputy chief was quite unique. However, his surname was also Leng. Could he be the brother of this Leng Xiaojiu? Although Mountain Master Zhuo was curious, he didn't ask much. The four of them entered the meeting tent. These leaders of the Alliance army maintained their identity and didn't go out to welcome them. They felt that the so-called unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance was just a bunch of motley people. Sending Mountain Master Zhuo to welcome them was already giving the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance a lot of face. When Yun Chuzhou and the others came in, everyone revealed a look of contempt. Was there no one left in the loose Cultivator Alliance? They actually let a little girl be the Alliance Master. The current commander of the Alliance army was Alliance Master Yen of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. He was also very surprised when he saw Yun Chuzhou. Before he could say anything, the head of the Fan family snorted coldly as the Alliance Master of the Loose Cultivator Alliance. What is there to hide? To actually wear a mask, this is really outrageous. As soon as the leader of the Fan family said that, although the others felt that he was a little overstepping his authority, they still somewhat agreed with him in their hearts. The leader and deputy leader of the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance were both wearing masks on their faces. Could it be that they had some shortcomings that could not be seen? Leng Kuei's palms immediately broke out in cold sweat. He grumbled in his heart. He had said that this would not do. Once he was exposed, how would he end up? This bad news had really made him suffer. The corners of Yun Chuzhi's lips curled up. She then took off the mask. Immediately, she heard a series of gasps. Her petite face was filled with scars. It was simply too horrible to look at. Yun Chuzhou put on the mask again and pretended to be strong as she said, "Seniors, this is the reason why this junior is wearing the mask. This junior also knows that this is a little rude, but the appearance of this junior and brother is damaged because of this, so I'm afraid of scaring others, so I can avoid some unnecessary trouble." People always sympathized with the weak, so everyone suddenly felt a little embarrassed, and some even complained about the head of the Fan family. Why did he ask this question when he owed his son? The head of the Fan family snorted coldly and didn't say anything. The reason why he was making trouble was because he felt that it was unfair. He felt that the Alliance Master of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance was so young. It was really unsatisfying. Alliance Master Yen laughed and said, "Please take a seat, everyone. Now is the time to use people. You can be said to be sending charcoal in the snow. Alliance Master Yen is young and promising. It is really admirable. Alliance Master Yen is too serious. As the saying goes, the rise and fall of the world is the responsibility of the man. Although we unaffiliated cultivators don't have any sex, we are still a member of the immortal Yuan continent. We should contribute to the safety of the immortal Yuan continent," a certain Jiu said pretentiously. Leng Kuei was stunned by He Xinjia's pretentious act. How could this bad thing be so serious? Alliance Master Yen and He Xinjiu exchanged some pleasantries and naturally got to the main topic. Alliance Master Yen, what are your specific plans? Alliance Master Yan's question was just a formality. He felt that Yun Chuzhou would definitely say whatever he wanted. After all, the Alliance army was the main force now, the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance was just a small force that came to seek refuge. Alliance Master Yen, logically speaking, our Freelance Martial Artist Alliance should be under your command and listen to your orders. However, you also know that we freelance martial artists are used to being undisciplined, and I'm afraid we don't fit in. How about this, you assign a defensive area to our Freelance Martial Artist Alliance. We will definitely guard the defensive line with our lives and never retreat, He Xinjiu said with a faint smile. Alliance Master Yen frowned. This little girl clearly wanted to establish her own sect. She was young, but her ambition was not small. However, what she said made some sense. Unaffiliated cultivators had always been disobedient. If they were to be merged into the Alliance army, there might be trouble. However, although there were quite a number of unaffiliated cultivators, could they be loyal to their duties? Just as Alliance Master Yen was hesitating, the head of the Fan family snorted coldly. Alliance Master, since the Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance wants to establish their own sect, then let them guard the Deathwind Gap. Anyway, they have more people, so they can form a human wall to hold on for a while. The expressions of everyone present were a little unnatural. The words of the head of the Fan family obviously carried a hint of mockery. It was nothing more than saying that the Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance could not withstand a single blow and could only rely on numbers to make up the numbers. Moreover, the windbreak was the most difficult part of the defensive line to defend. It was easy to attack but difficult to defend. Wasn't this just watching the Loose Cultivator Alliance make a fool of themselves? It was likely that in a few days, the Loose Cultivator Alliance would suffer heavy losses. This was a little too unethical. Alliance Master Yen frowned. Although he was dissatisfied with Yun Chujia's decision to establish her own sect, regardless of whether it was from the overall situation or from his own heart, he would not do such a thing to scam people. Alliance Master Yen looked at the Fan family's patriarch with disapproval and then said to Yun Chujio, "How about this? The yellow mud mound is easy to defend but hard to attack. Your freelance martial artist alliance will go and defend there." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Alliance Master Yen, the Fan family's patriarch is right. Our freelance martial artist alliance has many people, so we should go and defend the Malefic Wind Gap. If you are worried, you can send a few helpers for us. The people in the meeting tent suddenly had another comment about Yun Chujio. She was young and frivolous. This little girl really did not know what was good for her. The yellow mud mound that Alliance Master Yen assigned to them was the easiest area to guard in the defense line. She actually took the initiative to ask to guard the windbreak. This was simply asking for trouble. The head of the Fan family's eyes revealed a look of contempt. A little girl really took him seriously. She actually took the initiative to request to guard the storm vent, and there would be a day when she would cry. Alliance Master Yen was also a little displeased in his heart. He thought to himself, since you are asking for trouble, then it would be good to let you suffer a little. It would be a good opportunity to temper her arrogance. Young people still needed to temper their edges, or they would sooner or later suffer a great loss. Alliance Master Yen swept his gaze around the large tent for the meeting. Just as he was about to send a few people to help Yun Chujio, he heard Yun Chujio say, "Alliance Master Yen, I heard that there are many young talents from the Han Yuan sect and the Shi Yuan sect. Can you send a few of them to us? They are all young people so we can communicate with them." Everyone secretly shook their heads. How did this Leng Xiaojiu become the Alliance Master of the Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance? This brain of his was simply full of holes. Instead of looking for help from a mighty figure like Mountain Master Zhua, he actually asked for a few hotheads. Wasn't this sick or what? Alliance Master Yen had originally held some hope for the Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance, but now there was practically nothing left. If Alliance Master was so unreliable, then this Unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance probably wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Alliance Master Yen pondered for a moment. It was fine. He would do as she said. If the evil wind gap fell, she would be honest. Anyway, he would arrange another group of people to fill in the gaps at the back. If the Loose Cultivator Alliance fell, the evil wind gap would not fall. Alliance Master Yen thought of this, he nodded. That's fine. Later, I will ask Mountain Master Zhua to bring you to pick a few young people. Initially, when Alliance Master Leng came from afar, should have held a banquet to entertain him. But now that the war has come to an end, everything has been simplified. So I hope you don't mind. Yun Chuzhou nodded her head. Alliance Master Yen is too polite. Since there's nothing else, he'll pick a few people and then go to the windbreak to guard it. Alliance Master Yen exchanged a few more pleasantries before Yun Chuzhou and the others left the meeting tent. Mountain Master Zhua hesitated for a moment before reminding her, Alliance Master Leng, the windbreak is easy to attack but hard to defend. You must be prepared for any difficulties. If you go back on your words now, it's still not too late. Don't be caught off guard. Yun Chuzhou smiled brightly, thank you for your good intentions, Mountain Master Zhua. The unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance likes to gnaw on hard bones. The harder it is to defend, the more we like it. Mountain Master Zhua was furious. This Leng Xiaojiu was really arrogant. Sooner or later, she would regret it. Mountain Master Zhua took out the roster and said coldly, these are all young disciples. Alliance Master Leng, please choose your men. Yun Chuzhou glanced at them and said casually, since they are all young talents from super sects, they shouldn't be too bad. Let's take these two then. Mountain Master Zhua looked at the two people Yun Chuzhou was pointing at and felt a little awkward. Yun Chuzhou was referring to An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao. These two could be said to be the cream of the crop among the younger generation of the Primordial Chaos sect. If they were to lose their lives because of this arrogant little girl, he wouldn't be able to explain it to Master Bailey. Mountain Master Zhua, what's wrong? These two can't do it. But that's true. These two are from the Primordial Chaos sect. Why don't I choose the one from the Killing Origin sect? Yun Chuzhou said with a hidden meaning. Mountain Master Zhua's old face turned red, he could only say, since you've chosen these two, then let them do it. Alliance Master Leng, the Yen clan is crafty and cunning. You mustn't be careless. If you really can't hold on, don't try to be brave. After all, there's still our Alliance army. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, Mountain Master Zhua, don't worry. I cherish my life the most and won't act recklessly. If the Alliance army needs anything, feel free to come to our Loose Cultivator Alliance. We will definitely not refuse. The corner of Mountain Master Zhua's eyes twitched. Where did this little girl get her confidence from? The Allied forces asked her for help. It was simply a fool's dream. After Mountain Master Zhua got someone to call An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao over, he briefly explained the reason and then found an excuse to leave. Because he felt that if he stayed a little longer, he would definitely be unable to help but scold this arrogant little girl. She really deserved to be scolded. Leng Kuei, who was standing behind Yun Chuzhou, was already speechless. Moreover, he really did not want to speak right now. The Primordial Murder sect and the Primordial Chaos sect had always been at loggerheads. He was also an old acquaintance of An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao. Moreover, they had often ridiculed each other in the past. If they were to find out his identity, they would definitely laugh at him. Leng Datu. Fuck, the moment he thought of this vulgar name, he wanted to strangle this bad news bag, Yun Chuzhou. An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao had yet to recover from their stupor. They were sent to the Loose Cultivator Alliance. The so-called chief and deputy chief were not reliable. Could they defend against the evil wind? An Linchuan sized up Yun Chuzhou at the thought of this and then widened his eyes. Junior sister Xiaojiu. You, how did you become the leader of the unaffiliated Cultivator Alliance? Yun Chuzhou was secretly happy. This idiot was much better than those old fogies. However, she didn't intend to admit it. This idiot looked at An Linchuan with a puzzled look and then said, "Young heroine, although my name is indeed Ling Xiaojiu, we aren't senior brothers and sisters, right?" An Linchuan rubbed his eyes. Although Ling Xiaojiu was wearing a mask, he looked like junior sister Xiaojiu no matter how he looked at her. Was he really mistaken? However, it was also true. Junior sister Xiaojiu was fine in the primordial chaos sect. How could she come here and become the alliance leader of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance? He must be thinking too much. Moreover, the voice didn't sound like it. It seemed that he had really mistaken her for someone else. Shang Wanhao had the same question at the side, but in the end, he dispelled it. He felt that it was only because the two of them were around the same age, and they were both called Little Jiu. That was why he felt that they were similar. Yes, that must be the case. An Linchuan and Shang Wanhao originally didn't have the slightest confidence in the so-called loose cultivator alliance. They felt that they were extremely unlucky. In the end, if the evil wind mouth fell, they would also have to bear the blame. However, when they saw the loose cultivator alliance stationed outside, they immediately stopped looking down on them. These loose cultivators stood upright. In comparison, they felt that the people of the alliance looked like loose cultivators. The people of the loose cultivator alliance were actually very conflicted in their hearts. They originally hated the evil He Xinjiu to death. They were originally so free and unfettered. But ever since this black-hearted person had become the alliance leader, their good days had ended. Training them to stand in formation all day long, wasn't that crazy? Unfortunately, they had already sworn a poison oath and could only allow this black-hearted person to torment them. They were so miserable that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall. However, when the people from the loose cultivator alliance saw the astonished gazes of the people from the alliance army, a sense of pride suddenly rose in their hearts, and there was even a little bit of pride. The vast majority of the people from the loose cultivator alliance had indeed come to fight against the Yen clan. Otherwise, they would not have gone through so much trouble to rush to the vast desert. Therefore, at this moment, the resistance in their hearts towards Yun Chujio had lessened by a lot. Perhaps this black-hearted little girl had done the right thing. Yun Chujio walked in front of the people from the loose cultivator alliance. She said in a clear voice, "Just now, I made a military order in front of Alliance Master Yen of the Alliance Army. Our loose cultivator alliance is responsible for the defense of the Wind Gap. If the Wind Gap is lost, I will commit suicide in front of Alliance Master Yen." The people of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance were in an uproar. Was this black-hearted person crazy? So what if it was a defense? Why did she make a military order? Moreover, from what she said, the unaffiliated cultivator alliance wanted to defend alone. Yun Chujio coughed and everyone immediately quieted down. No one dared to make a sound. An Linchuan and Shang Wanhao looked at the side and were extremely surprised. Even Alliance Master Yen didn't have such strength in the Alliance army. This Ling Xiaojiu had some skills. In addition, the windbreak is the most easy to attack and difficult to defend area in the defensive line. You must think that I'm asking for trouble, right? Yun Chujio paused at this point and glanced at the crowd before continuing. The reason why I picked the hardest bone is to prove that the people of the unaffiliated cultivator alliance are not inferior to the alliance army. The people of the freelance martial artist alliance are not trash, and we are not cowards. Some of you are timid, and some are afraid of death. If you bring it up now, I will release you immediately. Is there? No one from the unaffiliated cultivator alliance made a sound. Even if there were a few who wanted to retreat, they were too embarrassed to step forward. What a joke. They had already come, wouldn't it make people laugh their heads off if they backed out now? Yun Chujio nodded with satisfaction. Very good. They are indeed the mainstays of our immortal origin continent. As long as there is still one person left in our unaffiliated cultivator alliance, the malefic vent will never fall into the hands of the Yen clan. We vow to live and die together with the base. We vow to live and die together with the base. We vow to live and die together with the base. Loud and uniform voices rang out like thunder. Even in Linchuan and Shangguan Hao were affected by this imposing manner and could not help but shout out as well. Such a loud noise naturally attracted the attention of many people. Even the people in the large meeting tent also came out to check. When they saw the imposing loose cultivator alliance, they were truly shocked. This was the unaffiliated cultivator alliance. Shouldn't the unaffiliated cultivator alliance be a loose sand? How could it be so disciplined? Moreover, this aura could be described as having the power to swallow mountains and rivers. Although there were only a few thousand people, this aura was even more powerful than the tens of thousands of people in the Alliance army. It was really strange. Everyone thought that Yun Chujio was overestimating herself when she took the initiative to defend the Wind Gap. Now that they looked at it, it seemed like she had some tricks up her sleeve. Perhaps she could really do it. The head of the Fan family snorted coldly, these are just superficial moves. With a little effort, the Alliance army will be like this in less than 3 days. Fighting is not acting, so what's the use of looking good? It still depends on actual combat ability. Although everyone felt that what the head of the Fan family said was not pleasant to hear, they felt that what he said made sense. Although it looked good, it was useless if it was just a show. At this time, Yun Chujio had already led the loose cultivator alliance to the Wind Gap. The Wind Gap was a few hundred li away from the Alliance army's meeting tent. However, these cultivators were very fast. After 2 hours, they had arrived at the Wind Gap. Bai Li and the rest of the group had already arrived at the Wind Gap. Yun Chujio finally understood the origin of the Wind Gap. There was an endless mountain range in the vast desert, which was a natural barrier. The place where the gust of wind came from was the narrowest and shortest part of the mountain range, and there was a fierce gust of wind. The worst part was that the gust of wind came from the direction of the nightmare race. In other words, when the nightmare race attacked, they weren't affected by the gust of wind, but the side defending was facing it. The gust of wind was filled with tiny wind blades, although it wasn't fatal, it would greatly reduce their battle power. Mountain Master Zhao of the Fire Peak of the Sky Killing Sect, who had been defending the Wind Gap, was surprised when he saw Yun Chujio and the others. Mountain Master Zhao, what's going on? Mountain Master Zhao asked. After seeing the document with the Alliance Army seal on it. He then said, all right, since that's the case, well, retreat. I'll leave the Wind Gap to you. The nightmare race has been doing a lot recently, so you have to be careful. Yun Chujio nodded her head, Mountain Master Zhao, don't worry. Our alliance will definitely guard the killing Wind Gap. We won't give the nightmare race any chance to take advantage of it. In truth, Mountain Master Zhao really didn't trust the alliance, even though it seemed like it was a big deal. Would it really work? Would it collapse the moment it encountered the attack of the nightmare race? However, since there was a transfer order from the higher-ups, it wasn't good for him to do anything. After giving a few more instructions, he left the killing wind port with his subordinates. Yun Chujio inspected the terrain and immediately arranged for the alliance to set up camp. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.